Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. You are tuning into WOR Legacy Division. I hope you're all very well. Of course, this Legacy race is going ahead on the back of obviously the very sad news about the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away yesterday at the age of 96. Obviously ourselves and the rest of the team here in WOR wishing everyone the best for those that are related to and are close to the royal family, as we send our regards, of course, after the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. So, we race on, and we go ahead to the event live in Bahrain. I hope you guys are doing very well, of course, on the back of that very sad news. It will be Callum alongside me, who very much, I'm sure, is looking forward to this event alongside myself. Obviously, slightly muted feelings in and around the paddock after the back of that sad news, Cal. Nonetheless, all the drivers very keen to go racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I agree with that there, and I echo the words you said there. But yeah, I think 20 drivers here tonight, me and you in the commentary box, obviously, it's not been the best past 24 hours, but the show must go on in some sense. And yeah, let's hope over the next 2 hours we can get some good action, and yeah, let's try and take our minds off the slightly sad news we've had recently.
Quite indeed, very, very wise words indeed. So let's have a little look at what's happening around the board. Of course, now all the drivers are very keen to flex the muscles as they can. One of those drivers, for some reason, is Magician at the moment. He's on intermediate tyres in this qualifying session at Bahrain, which is not really the ultimate tyre you really want to be on, let's be perfectly candid. But as much as that might be rather silly, of course it isn't a silly moment for certain drivers around the field. One of those drivers, or one of those teams to be exact, in fact two of them, AMS and WOR Esports, both of those teams have now pulled out of the tournament. And we will go ahead with the introduction of none other than one of those teams, Bunga Bunga Racing. Nice to have them on board with us as they look to try and get themselves out on the field and score some points for their team.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame to see WR go, a great team and some great drivers that we lost with them. But listen, it gives some great opportunities to some guys that you probably wouldn't see at this level, you wouldn't see at this stage. And yeah, they've got some big shoes to fill, these two new teams, these 4 new drivers to the grid. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they can do tonight.
Quite indeed, as those drivers now getting themselves ready. Let's have a quick look and see what's happening around the field. So Magician on the intermediate tyre, so obviously we're not going to be expecting anything amazing from him at this moment in time. ERL in the Alpha Tauri fielding this week alongside Blackie and Aiden H, who, one of those drivers, Blackie, just about to start his lap now as we go on board with the number 87, and the number 87 looking to flex some muscles. Of ERL really want to start their season. It's been a bit of a slow one.
Yeah, they definitely will, and it's a good place tonight around Bahrain. It's a good track, but yeah, by the sound of that noise you made there, it doesn't seem it's been going too well.
Oh, apologies, I've just seen there as ERL Blackie unfortunately spins out heading through turn 2, as I mentioned about their slow start to the season. Unfortunately for him, immediately spinning the car, and that will be his lap over and done with. So let's have a look across the rest of the field. Of course, FGE currently fielding at the moment. Halo and Steve, a very quiet Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for Steve, but for Halo, tried to be the hero was the FGE driver. Of course, decided to go onto the hard tyre, but the rest of the field weren't particularly happy with Halo making that decision, because he felt that he rather got in the way of those that were on the fresh soft tyre. Well, of course, he was on the old hard. Sounds familiar, that, around Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, it definitely does, but I think us in the commentary box wouldn't have complained so much last week. If anyone watched last week, and if you didn't, why weren't you? But yeah, it was a pretty crazy last 5, 6, 7 laps because of Halo on the hards. It was so much slower than everyone else on the fresh softs, and yeah, it definitely threw a little spanner into the works, and yeah, it definitely spiced up the last few laps of Abu Dhabi last week.
FG Halo then comes across the line to set the initial lap time. 4 seconds slower was Magician on the intermediate tyre. Can you believe that one? He obviously looking to set an actual lap time that could be considered competitive as we follow the German ET Passe. He now heads just around the second sector as he wants to try and keep the car nice and steady. ETE looking to get themselves some points on the board, of course, and nonetheless ETE Recluse racing tonight as well. Expecting Recluse to get some big points. Very quick driver, nonetheless. Kai, as he is known as by his normal name, is looking to obviously flex his muscles a little bit as well. But first it will be Passe to set a lap for the ETE team as he comes across the line himself and comes across as the fastest so far with a 28.6.
Yeah, good luck there. Just on board with FGE Steve now, currently in P7, but obviously not set a lap yet. The man in the Aston Martin, he'll be looking to try and set a pretty nice valid lap time. I'm not too sure if it went out last week or I'm not too sure if he was in racing last week, but definitely he'll be looking to get out of Q1 anyway, and a good lap fairly early on in the session could do him chances at World of Good. Coming through the final corner, he goes fourth gear, just clipping that cupping inside and very gently putting the throttle on. It's DRS opening his foot flat to the floor now as he comes across the line, and it's a 1 minute 29.495, and that puts him in P3.
Just behind his teammate Halo. This is just a bit under 0.3 of a second faster than him on the same tyre. Lacey for Shazoo as he now comes around the final corner. Red Bull will be wanting to set his provisional lap time as well as he comes across the line himself and then goes above the two FGE drivers onto the provisional front row with a 128.9. Still about 0.3 slower though than ETE Passive, but we've still got plenty of drivers out on the field who wants to have a go at this one. Of course, one of those drivers, of course, being what was the FRA driver, but now with his name Otis Lawrence, of course, the Veloce driver, the Veloce Academy driver rather, as he's just started on his outlap for Mercedes and FRA.
Yep, just looking with ERL Aiden at the moment, currently in P19, not set a lap. He'll be looking to try and get a good result for ERL because they're desperate or need one, aren't they? It's been a pretty disappointing start to the season for their standards. Only 4 points scored, and that was 4 points scored by I think Leopard last week. So yeah, it's been pretty dire from ERL so far. So they'll be looking to try and improve. And there you have it, Aiden with P4 at the moment at 129.1. Not a great lap there. I think he will probably have to improve on that later on.
Here's ET Recluse then, as Recluse looking to try and get himself on the board for ETE as he now heads into turn 1. Oh, that's a big lock-up going into turn 1. And I have a feeling he's just going to abandon that lap immediately out of the blocks, and there it is indeed. He chooses not to go ahead with that particular lap. A driver that's just... He had the pace, really, throughout F1 2020 and 2021. I've not managed to really see his performance in 22, but hopefully something a little bit better than his performance maybe going into turn 1. Let's follow Otis then as he now heads into the next corner through turn 4, and I have to say he did not look comfortable initially on there. It looked like the front was just not sticking, and a big load of understeer forced him not to really put the power down as early as I think he wanted to. So he was, this is coming off of the back of a race win from, of course, at Abu Dhabi, but Otis wasn't comfortable with that win, would have to say. It was very, very mixed bag, and he did have to fight for it.
Yeah, definitely did. I think you say comfortable because it wasn't like a 10-second win that we normally see from Elite. So yeah, it was interesting to see last week that Cypher was there. He definitely had the pace to win, and yeah, it was good to see that it wasn't an easy win. He had to work for it last week at the Elite, but yeah, it did look pretty in control the whole time. There was never really a moment I thought, oh wow, he might not win this. It was all pretty controlled, and yeah, I wouldn't expect to see anything less tonight. But we'll stick on board with the Mercedes driver as he comes to the penultimate corner. And let's see where he can put that Mercedes. I think last week he got through into Q2 with a 1 run, so it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that here tonight. Coming out the final corner, DRS opens and it's a short run to the line now, and it comes across the line, and it is provisional P1 with a 128.1. Wow.
I'd have to say turn 4 did not look comfortable for him yet. He still stays 0.5 in front of ETE Passy, but there are plenty of other drivers on the field. VSR wanting to get in the mix as well as Finn comes across the line to start his lap. Nico still on a lap as he's just heading now down the second DRS straight. Worth also mentioning though, after all of this as well, it's not just Bunga Bunga who joins us, of course, with the dismissal or the choice of leaving from AMS and of course WOR Esports. It also joined by Velox, who also are welcome to the Legacy division as well, and obviously Harris and Sam taking those seats at the moment, yet to set a lap time as it stands at the moment, but Finn is setting a 28.4, a little bit down at the moment on Otis by a couple of tenths, despite Otis really losing the front end, you'd have to say, going through that corner. Nico comes across the line for VSR, and it is 2 tenths behind Lawrence, but I expect Otis might be under a little bit of pressure with that initial lap time.
Yeah, I think it possibly could be, but yeah, maybe a little bit too close to call in terms of where he'd like to be, but it should be alright for the most part. Just look at the moment as well with Otis' teammate Effery Piste coming through the final corner now, a very quick driver on this day, but oh, a big mistake there coming at that final corner. That definitely won't do the lap time any favours as he comes across the line, but it is still P2 to make it a current Effery P1 and 2 with a 128.3, so still very good lap in the end.
And of course, a great correction from the WR team in the chat, as well as I absolutely mispronounced Velox when I was actually meant to say Novus joining the team as well. So apologies for that one, guys. That'd be Lucas and Amine who have joined for NVR. They have joined obviously in the, should we say, like I said, the two teams in AMS and WOR esports themselves leaving the tournament. So a big thank you to the person correcting me there who has his anonymity covered in that one. But Otis still under a little bit of pressure, you'd have to say. Pisty manages to go into second, but then is beaten by the VSR boys, who I said in yesterday's race were a team that were, what's the right word for it, consistent. They kept close with each other all the time, but TPS showed a few cracks in the VSR team last night, so they'll be hoping that there's not a replication of that here in WORLD tonight, as BRT Griffiths comes across the line with a 29-1. 4 drivers now with the 29-1, as NVR on their debut tonight goes second with a 28-2. And remember, of course, we're still waiting on the PSR boys, one of them Cypher, who really put a challenge on Otis Lawrence last week. Is heading around the second sector rather, and he has gone fastest in the first sector by a 10.5.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Scyther can do tonight and for all this season. I think he's probably the closest one to Otis that we'll see on Xbox at the moment. So yeah, there's expecting big things from him anyway. We go to try and really give a challenge to Otis. But we'll stick him over the Williams coming through the final, the middle sector now. Let's see if he can try and hook up this lap and try and put himself on that professional P1 that would really take the pressure off him himself. He can only have to do the one lap. So yeah, purple middle sector so far from him, but a little bit wide there coming through turn 13, probably not ideal in terms of the lap time. Nonetheless, it's been a good lap for the Williams driver, so we're looking to try and replicate this to the last two corners now. And at turn 14, making sure to try and miss that inside curb and using all the curb on the outside. You can maybe even run wide sometimes to the little kink of turn 15 and he DRS open down. It's a short run at the line. He comes across the line and it's only P6 for Scyther, a 1 minute 28.4.
Yeah, that third sector was actually quite poor. It looks to be as if he was down a couple of tenths in the third, and the second sector wasn't clean. So Scyther's struggling at the moment, and he's down in P6. Was he sandbagging is the question on my mind. PSR Connor, his teammate, is just coming around the third sector himself to get his lap on the board. The last driver to set a lap will be the Shazoo driver LCR Leopard, and he comes across land as Connor and goes second fastest himself with that 28.232. So PSR do have a little bit more pace in them than what Scyther has put down. That is clear, but is that just, should we say, a little benchmark maybe for Scyther? Because of course this is Q1. We've got another 2 qualifying events ahead of us. LCR Leopard comes across the line and he goes just above Scyther, speaking of which, in the same 28.4 range. 2 drivers 28.4, 3 drivers 28.3, 2 drivers 28.2, 1 driver though, Otis Lawrence 28.1.
Yeah, it's really close at the moment, isn't it, all over the field, and every driver bar recluse now that has set a pretty representative lap time, so just under 5 minutes left in the clock, still all to play for in terms of the top 15 going through. It's really close. It's looking like you're probably going to do maybe a 0.8 to guarantee your safety through into the next round. So yeah, with about 4 minutes left on the clock, it's going to be a pretty tense last 4 minutes for a few of these drivers.
Let's keep an eye out then on the rest of the field here as we're just having a look at the moment. So the slowest driver out in the field at the moment is the ET driver, Recluse. He is whilst flexing his pace throughout F1 2020 and 2021, as I said earlier, but at the moment down on the bottom of the 20 drivers at the moment with that 147, but of course that is not a representative lap time, because you'd expect the Alpine has got a lot more pace behind him as he drives for ETE tonight in the Alpine. NVR Lucas retires in the pit lane. He's happy with that 28.2, as is Finn, happy with his 28.3 for VSR, P4 for him, as we are just looking at Otis Lawrence on his out lap, and he now begins a lap. And Cal, I think I'll let you take the motion on this one. A lap around Bahrain with the fastest driver on Xbox.
Oh well, no pressure on Otis then. So we can try and get a good lap in. To be honest, there is no pressure really. He's through no matter what, but listen, it's for the bragging rights. It's for the confidence as well. That can go a long way coming into turn 1. He goes, it's into third gear, a slight lock up there, but that's not going to do too much. I'm up into fourth gear, and look at that traction already up into fifth gear. Very little wheel spin there, and that was so smooth coming out of that hairpin. It can be really easily messed up, but not for Otis coming out of turn 4. He said he had a little bit of struggles at the last lap, but coming through here, look at that. Exactly pinpoint where he wants it, and that's really good stuff there from the Mercedes driver. But he is actually slightly in on his first sector time from the last lap, so a little bit of making up to do in this middle sector coming into turn 8. He goes just about clipping the inside curb, and yeah, he's doing really good here, up into fourth gear nice and early. That traction is insane from Otis, and I think that is probably what just separates him from the rest of the field at the moment. It's just those exits are just something else compared to everyone else. So yeah, really good stuff from him so far. On the middle sector now, DRS opens, and one of your only DRS ones in the track. There's 3, and this is your middle one. But in terms of racing, you're not going to get much overtaking here. It's mainly just to help group each other together, but I doubt we'll see any action through there. Coming into turn 12 now, very easy to mess this one up. That inside curb can be brutal at points, but Otis just tapping that there, and that is just about the right amount you want to do. 8,000's up on this time, so he is looking good at the moment, and he'll be looking to extend that lead at the top of the leaderboard. Now 2 corners left to navigate. It is a braking zone of turn 14 and the slight right hand kink of turn 15. Coming through your 4th gear for turn 14, and this is your slight right hand for turn 15. He's done that very nicely as Otis. It's been a very nice lap, nothing too extreme, but he's kept it on the track, and he's kept it for a very nice lap of a 1:28.142.
Good lap indeed from the fastest man on Xbox so far. Does improve his lap time ever so slightly. It looks like a slight improvement maybe in the 3rd sector. His 1st sector was about matching with the first occasion, so interesting to see how Otis is putting himself on the board, obviously just trying to get used to the track. Maybe it's quite green at the moment, as we're seeing Piste on a hot lap, on a warm lap, sorry, as Scyther is also on a second warm-up as well to try and improve on his 28.3 that he, in fact no apologies, he was on a hot lap himself and has improved to a 28.3, but still not the best performance at the moment from the American, who you'd have to say is a little bit out of position as it stands at the moment, so maybe a little bit more pace is available for the PSR drivers. We've just seen E Recluse finally set his first lap time, and he gets into the 28.9s at the moment, so again probably more of a conservative lap from the ETE driver. Harris in 11th and Mine in 10th for the NVR team in Haas, and he's looking to try and get an improvement on the board. VSR Nico retiring in the pit lane. He's happy with his 28.3 at the moment, but ultimately very, very close at the moment between all of drivers. 1 second separating P1 all the way down to very slightly, but ever so close to P19. 1.017 seconds separating 19 drivers on the field, and 1.353 seconds separating 1st to 20th. Mighty close stuff in LD.
Yeah, definitely it is, and I'd expect that to get even closer now, because a lot of these guys near the back of the field are definitely going to have to go for it now, aren't they? Because at the moment they aren't going to go through. It's the top 15 that go through, remember, so yeah, a lot to play for now. Just looking on board with VLX Sam, let's see what he can do. Currently set at P15, right on that cusp of the elimination zone, so improvement of the time here is basically necessary if he wants to see himself progress to qualifying. So 300 left at the moment, which is good, but it probably needs a little bit more now out of this final sector if you want to see this Alfa Romeo progress through to the next round. 1:29 flat it is at the moment. I think a 10th or 2 would probably see him safely through. So coming to the final corner now, very cautious. He's not used any of that outside curb. Very contrasted to what we see from Otis Lawrence earlier on. So he comes across the line now. It's a 1:28.9. That pushes up into P14. That could be tight.
Could be really tight wells for Velox at the moment. Now AT Recluse at the moment has decided not to progress any further in this qualifying session, and unfortunately for him he's been knocked out as a result of Shazoo Lacey comes across the line, and he now goes up to P8, knocks the Recluse down to 16th. FGE are not improving with Halo at the moment. Steve is also not improving either, so they finish in 17th and 18th place respectively, and a Magician, who of course set his first lap time on the intermediate tyres, is down at the moment in 19th with Griffiths in 20th place. They're on their final laps in this session, and this is going to be mighty close if he wants to continue on with the battle. His sector 2 lap times are actually close to that of Recluse at the moment, so he's looking to try and sneak into 15th if he can, goes above Sam, and he does get into 15th with that 28.8, so he is looking fairly sharp and he's going to sneak in. The question is, only one driver at the moment as it stands can beat him, because I think Velox Sam is not on a hot lap and he isn't, so it is just Griffiths on his own. Will his teammate be the person that knocks him out is the question. At least one driver is getting through. Which one is it going to be? And it will be Griffiths who gets through in P14, knocks Black 8 for ERL down into 15th place, but there's your 5 drivers that are knocked out. We've got one ET driver from Recluse, Halo and Steve for FGE. Velox have lost a driver through Sam, and Magician and the McLaren also out.
Yeah, it's not too bad for BRT on their debut. One driver to get through to Q2 isn't too bad. It's just a shame it couldn't have been both of them. But yeah, good luck there from Griffiths. The pressure was on you sitting dead last before that final run. So yeah, he delivered when it counts. The 28.6 is a very good lap as well, and considering it's only Q1. So yeah, super close grid. You mentioned it was just over a second between 1st and 19th earlier. Well, it's just about a second from 1st to 20th now. So yeah, very close grid.
Really, really close stuff indeed between those. If you are wondering, as we come to the end of Q1, how are the rest of the drivers doing out there at the moment? We've obviously lost a couple of teams in WOR and AMS. They have both left this tournament for various reasons that I'm sure people are very aware of if you'll take a look on Twitter for literally 5 seconds. However, across the field at the moment, questions are coming in surrounding, where's FRA Elite? Where is FRA Elite? Well, I'll tell you where FRA Elite is. He's first at the moment. Otis Lawrence has changed his gamer tag, and FRA Elite is no more, as he now takes, of course, his full name, probably to emphasise how serious that the driver is taking this esports career, shall we say, as of course he becomes a Veloce Academy driver, and he at the moment is top of the standings. He takes qualifying 1 with that 28.142. I did say it was a bit of a questionable 28.142 because turn 4 looked quite precarious, to say the least, for the Brit, but he is going to be happy with that one nonetheless. Connor in second place with PSR. NVR will be very happy with P3 as it stands, with Finn in fourth for VSR. FRA will take fifth place as well through Pisty, with Scyther for PSR in sixth. VSR will be in seventh with Nico, Lacey in eighth, Passy in ninth, and then Leopard for Shazoo in 10th, with the other Shazoo driver Lacey in 8th place. And towards the back, you've got Aiden, Amine, Harris, Griffiths, and Blackie for ERL, and those knocked out, Magician, Samag, Recluse, Halo, and Steve, all out of the running. Let's head through then to qualifying 2, and of course remember, none of the tyres that you qualify on will go through to the race if you get into the top 10 in this event as a result of the rule changes in real life Formula 1. So strategy calls are not going to be the conversation on this particular occasion, but it will be for us, because we're going to have a very brief conversation as people get themselves ready. And you have to say here, soft tyre, very good race tyre, but longevity-wise, you'd expect to probably do a 2-stop if you start on a soft tyre with a 50% race. We're going to be expecting probably medium-hard here, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely will. I think it could be even hard medium as well, just doing that alternate strategy. I think the only time we will see softs tonight will be in qualifying and maybe a late safety car, but other than that, softs, just like basic every other track in this game, just don't really have it, do they? They're good for 3, 4, 5 laps, but after that they just aren't very good. So yeah, medium hard or hard medium will probably be the strategy we will see from everyone tonight.
So let's have a quick look in the chat as people get themselves ready around the board to get themselves on with the lap. I believe that would be Finn, who's just left the pit lane, and he certainly has. But it will be the ERL driver of Blackie to come out first, and he'll be the person to set his first lap time in Q2. Quick look in the chat. Good evening to every single one of you tuning in to this WOR stream. At the moment on my count, 63 people tuning in this very early session here. So thank you very much to everyone for your support as we just have a look here, and people asking the question, why is half of the drivers in here a second off the pace? Says Hayden Kitney. Well, remember, it's a very green track out there to me from what I was seeing out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cal, but a few of these drivers are really struggling with grip out there at the moment. There was a bucket load of understeer, so I'm wondering if the track is a little bit more greener than people are expecting going into this session.
Yeah, I think you're probably right with that one as well. It's hard to practice for a full qualifying session because it's completely different to a short qualifying. The track is completely different from Q1 to Q2 and Q3. Every time it will probably feel like a new track for these drivers. So, and I think half a second was pretty impressive actually to have all these drivers within it. So yeah, I think it's testament to these guys. You know, you look at, I mean, Otis Lawrence, or Elite as he's normally known, he's incredible. So to consider you've got literally 20 drivers all within a second, I think that's testament to how good this grid is.
Absolutely indeed. Let's have a quick look around the field then as we just see who's out on the track. One of the drivers that's left, Otis Lawrence for FRA. He is just heading now into turn 4. Other drivers, the other ERL driver of Aiden has left the pits, as well as NVR's Amine has also come out of the pits as well. But we will go and follow ERL Blackie as he just starts his lap now, of course on the soft tyre. Remember, as I said earlier, none of that strategy calls just yet, because the strategy in qualifying is simply go as fast as you possibly can. If you're into the top 10, you don't have to qualify on the medium tyre early on. And that's ERL Blackie spinning the car, as I think he did earlier on in the session in Q1 as well. So a second spin out at the same corner for Blackie. So clearly that driver's struggling at the moment around turn 3, which to be fair is quite a common problem actually for a few drivers anyway.
Yeah, definitely is. Don't blame them. It's not an easy corner for anyone that's drove this game. They'll probably understand how hard it can be at points, especially when you're pushing on a slightly green track as well. It can be very easy to spin there, like Blackie demonstrated pretty well. So yeah, it's unfortunate for him. Only 12 minutes left in the clock. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround for Blackie if he wants to try and get another competitive lap time in.
Here's the SR Finn then as he now goes down the straight. He'll be the first driver to set a lap time after that spin out from ERL's Blackie. Here comes the Ferrari now as he heads around Sector 2, and he's going to want to try and keep it as close as he possibly can to these curves without going over. He was very close there, actually. Kept it on the white line, though, so it is a legal move. That is off-track limits, though, and you'd have to say he can't have that lap. And I'm sure the stewards will be keeping an eye out on whether that one would be disallowed or not. We have actually seen in the past a few drivers receive penalties for track extension around this circuit. He did what seems to be maximise the most he can off this lap, but he will set the initial lap time with a 29.4. It was a little bit off the pace. I'm wondering if he's let off of the gas early on because he knew he extended the track limits there. So he will, well, it's an invalid 29.4, but I've got no doubt he will go a lot faster than that one, so VSR won't be in any trouble. ETE Passe, he's just coming across the line now, and it looks to me as if it's a little bit of a slower lap from ETE Passe. He does get the 28.9 on the board, but we've seen other drivers go plenty faster in Q1, so a little bit of time yet to find here at the moment. Track's still looking quite green out there by the behaviour of these cars.
Yeah, definitely. It's just looking on board with Otis Lawrence out there. Now we can really see how quick this track really is. Now coming in the final two corners, 28.9 is a lap time to beat for Otis. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to do that without any sweat. So let's see, he comes down the final corner now. DRS opens short onto the line, and let's see what he sets as a 27.5. Oh wow, what a lap time that is.
Otis obviously finding the limits of the track. No problem at all for him as he goes across the line with that 27.5. Good lap indeed. Amine is just coming across the final corner himself, and he's keeping it nice and tidy if he can. Not afraid to use the curb. ERL Aiden comes across in second place, and Amine goes fourth with a 29.0, just tucked in behind Passe. Definitely fast lap still coming in. You'd suggest for VSR, you might as well just scratch off that 29.4 that Finn did. It's definitely going to be an invalid lap, and I'm sure he can go faster anyway. Lucas, 11th place at the moment. He had to set a lap time, and on his outlap already half spinning the car. I know the tyres are cold, but you don't cause spin outs like that very easily. Connor Robinson in the chat saying, yeah, it looks very much like the track needs to rubber in, and then it'll be fine. Q3 times will probably be similar to short quali times in the end. Very good point. Otis is obviously finding the grip out there at the moment, and he's probably the only driver who can, because every other driver seems to be really struggling out there.
Yeah, definitely. And still got a lot of drivers to set a lap time, and one of them, Connor Robertson, he's currently in the chat, and he's not too bothered about getting out, getting a lap time. He's obviously just letting the track rubber in, as he mentions, and maybe he'll come out, maybe around about now. I think we're starting to see more drivers come out, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see now when we've got a bit more drivers on the track, what the times will start to look like.
Thought just very quickly to put the tyres on, see if there's anything interesting happening there. It's the fact, no, everyone on the soft tyre at this particular occasion, so that's no surprises on that one. Scyther on an outlap at the moment. Now, based on my experiences of watching Scyther race in this game, he's very much a driver that likes to go for the late braking sort of driving style and really throw the car into the corners. We saw that actually yesterday, certainly through Jeddah in the TPS tournament. It was one of a few drivers who really likes to throw the car in there. But in order for you to be able to do that, you need a grippy track, because of course you're pushing the car well above and beyond its limits with that particular racing style. While the track is green, you tend to struggle, and that might explain Scyther's slight issues with pace at the moment.
Yeah, it possibly could. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see now what he can do on this lap time. Just looking more with VSR Nico now. He's coming to end of his lap. The VSR driver will be looking to try and get some good points on the board here tonight, and that all starts off with getting into qualifying 3. Obviously not set a lap time at the moment, but anything in the low 28s I think would be probably just about enough to get himself through into the next round. So coming through the final corner he goes for the Ferrari man. Let's see what time he can set. Otis Lawn for 27.5. Can he beat that? For 28.2, it's not quite P1, but definitely a good lap nonetheless from the Ferrari.
Yeah, good lap indeed from the VSR driver. Puts himself a couple of tenths above ERL drivers, but he's still a little bit down on the pace at the moment of Otis at the moment, who's retired very early in this session, and you can't really blame him, to be fair. He's retired with the 27.5 and thinks, yeah, I'm probably going to be safe with that one, and I can't disagree with him on that one. Let's keep an eye out on Scyther. Fastest first sector, apparently. I'll double check that one. He is faster than Otis in the first sector, weirdly enough, but apparently, according to this, he's a half a tenth faster. So it's going to be interesting to see how he manages the second and third sector. Bearing that one in mind, as we now head down the straight, and he'll want to keep it nice and tidy, but keep it as close to the line as he possibly can, and he's taking the esports line as no surprises there. Try not to touch that curb, and he's well off of the curb actually, so a bit more conservative in that second sector as he now comes across the second sector lap time. Apparently purple, but on my telemetry on my other screen tells me that he's actually down a couple of tenths on Otis now, so we're probably going to be expecting something in the region, I reckon, of a 27.9 maybe here from Scyther. We'll have to see. Here he comes then across that final line, very, very close to the track limits line, but keeps it steady. VLX will go second with a 28.0, but Scyther will come across the line with a 27.9.
Yeah, still a very good lap time from Scyther, and more than enough to see himself through into the next round. So yeah, good stuff from him there. BRT Griffiths will stay on board with the McLaren as he comes through the last few corners now. Not set a lap time yet, so a big lap time needed for him. He just about got himself through to Q2, so I think a Q3 shot would be slightly ambitious on his debut here in World. But let's see as he comes across the line now. What lap time was he set? And it's a P7, 128.398. And I take that all back, what I just said.
Good lap indeed, actually, from Griffiths to get into 7th place. Of course, the sole McLaren at the moment. And forgive me, can't remember the team that's in the McLaren, so you'll have to remind me of that one. As Scyther comes across the line, as I said, with that 27.9. Harris 27.0, NVR Lucas with a 28.1, and Pisty with a 28.1 as well. And actually, Pisty will be a bit disappointed being in 5th place, despite he's got a 28.1, because in fairness, a 28.1 doesn't usually put you in 5th place in normal racing, but with how close all of the drivers are around in the Legacy division here in WOR, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that he is, well, the people are struggling out there at the moment. Let's say struggling, sorry, they're all in close proximity rather of each other here, as we're just watching PSR Connor with the second sector lap time. Actually that comparable of Scyther at the moment, but a little track extension there might not have got away with that one. We'll have to see what the stewards think about it as he now heads down that final corner. The PSR driver will be looking to try and bounce alongside Scyther, as he will now come across the line with the DRS open. Will the Williams be able to match that of Scyther? Not at the moment. Another driver, 28.1.
Yeah, we'll be a bit disappointed with that wall corner, especially he was, what, P2, P3 in that qualifying one session, so yeah, it's a little bit of a letdown from Connor there, and I think he's probably got enough time. I think, yeah, he does have enough time to go and set a lap, so yeah, it's not great from Connor, but not the end of the world.
Alright then, so we have got a solid Q2 times in now. Early suggestions of putting Otis towards the front here. Do you think pole position heading into Q3 is likely to be his?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll say it a full season. I think it always looks good for Otis, especially here tonight. It was pretty dominant last week in Abu Dhabi, but once again as well, he's just shown it. I mean, he set that lap very early on in the session. He set a 0.5, and the closest man to him was 4 tenths away. So yeah, once again, Otis just looks like a field in his own at the moment. But hopefully things can change. It's, you know, if he messes up his laps in Q3, then you never know. But yeah, if I was a betting man, I would definitely put some money on Otis to get pole.
If you're a betting man, 50p, put it on Otis for pole, and I'm sure that you'd get 50p back, to be honest with you. He is absolutely flying high across the whole of the Xbox divisions in the F1 esports world. Of course, no surprise, the reason that ends up carrying him over to as a Veloce Academy driver. Of course, he'll be very happy with it, and they'll be very happy with his performances in WOR LD. As we watch VSR Finn come out of the pit lane. VSR, again, I mean, yesterday the cracks started to appear between the VSR drivers over in TPS, and again, their consistency doesn't seem to be forming too well at the moment. Nico and Finn, very different in pace. 1.2 seconds separating the pair of them at the moment. I reckon Finn hasn't set a lap time that is obviously competitive. I'm assuming that, well, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, actually. I think he was the driver that we saw early on who ended up track extending, didn't he, actually, through the penultimate corner. So he lifted off in accordance with the rules. So he hasn't set a competitive lap time at the moment.
Yeah, it's not ideal for him. There's a lot of pressure coming onto this last lap, and it's not ideal for VSR. It's not been a great start to the season for them. 20 points from the first 2 races and sitting P3 now in the standings because WR are no longer here. But it's not great for VSR. I mean, a few years ago they were the powerhouse of Xbox. They were the team to beat. So yeah, it's a little bit of a fall from grace. But a big result here tonight could go to the world of good. But that all starts here with Finn getting through into Q3, which is not an easy task.
There is one driver on a lap at the moment. It's Mine in 13th place at the moment, obviously racing for NVR as he goes with into the second sector, sorry, to the third sector with a 28.62 actually, so a good sector, 28.2 second sector, so he's actually very competitive, and the track, as he starts to get a little bit more grip out there, is my question I'm putting out there at the moment. As he now heads into the final corner, and through the final corner with the DRS Open, Nature Saramine for NVR goes third place. Good lap indeed. Another driver, 27.9.
Yeah, very good lap there from him. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is his team and himself's debut tonight for in this league. So yeah, big stuff from him tonight. P3, pretty much that'll be him into Q3. So yeah, very nice for both of them. The Haas, he's starting P3 and P5. So yeah, very nice debut from the two of them so far.
Of course, remember that is a debut for Novus, which I incorrectly put down as not being Novus. I believe it was Velox I said earlier. Just a correction again in the removal of WOR Esports and who was it as well? Alien Motorsport, that was it. Yes, I'll get there in the end. And it's NVR who join us, obviously, alongside Bunga Bunga Racing, and they are certainly going to be happy indeed, Bunga Bunga, because they are currently in 10th place at the moment. They've lost one driver in Q1, but of course Griffith has managed to get through, and as it stands at the moment, he's just on the brink of being knocked out, but we've got plenty of time out there for drivers to improve, and based on what I'm seeing with the Mine's pace, the grip out there is really starting to improve, as Nico with the 28.1 stays out of the way, as well as the ERL driver Blackie stays out of the way as well of the Williams driver of PSR Connor, who just enters into turn 1, and a little bit of a wider exit for him. Very intriguing way of doing it, but PSR are at risk of losing a driver as he stands at the moment, down in P9. You'd think at the moment that a 28.1 is probably going to be the drop zone. The issue you've got is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th are all with 28.1s, and 4th is a 28.0.
Yep, and just as you're talking there, Shizuo Lacey is out of this section. He couldn't improve on the lap time he set. He's in P13 and he will no longer progress. So that's a big blow there for himself and for Team Shizuo as well.
Just having a quick look in the chat as well as we just follow these final laps in here, as people starting a conversation about asking what is happening around us at the moment, as well as booking there. Hi Ryan and Crispy. Ryan and Crispy are in the chat. I completely missed you. Hi guys, welcome aboard to WORLD. We are just watching at the moment, if you're just tuning in, PSR Connor, who is at serious risk of the Paradox Sim Racing losing a driver here, which is very unlike them. He's on the brink, on the drop zone at the moment, down in 10th place, as we've just seen one of the Red Bulls, LCR Leopard, get through into the 28.0, so only a 10th found, but that 1/10 finds around 5 or 6 positions as Pisty goes second place for FRA. PSR Connor goes P5, and that puts ETE Passe into the drop zone. Only one driver yet to set a lap time that is really respective here, and that's VSR Finn, and he needs to get that lap time off the board, of course, because it is invalid. He comes across the line. It is only a 28.6, and VSR, one just sneaking in, one is out. VSR, the last couple of races especially, not been their best.
Yeah, not ideal at all for VSR. Not a great lap at all from Finn. Was that 28.6? He needed to get about 4 or 5 tenths to get even a sniff into the next round. So yeah, unfortunate stuff from VSR. A great lap there from Connor at the end. The pressure was really on him to try and deliver, and he definitely did. 28 flat. Great lap there from the PSR man, and that's good for PSR as well. 2 drivers once again into Q3.
Well, people in the chat as well. Good evening to every single one of you as well. Hey, hello Ryan, how you doing? And we've got other people in there as well. Book in there saying hi, Loveland. I hope he is speaking to Loveland in the chat, because he's certainly not here. But thank you very much indeed. I hope you're doing very, very well yourself. And well done on a good performance, by the way, for the TPS race last night. A very, very good race indeed. WOR LD trying to, I think definitely following on for what is going to be a very, very good performance of racing around here in Bahrain, because all of the drivers, again, separated by 1.1 seconds here, Cal. Again, it just shows the rapid pace of these drivers. Lacey has put it into the wall by the looks of things to Red Bull and Shazoo, so he's not happy at all. He'll be starting down in P15, but we are through now to the final 10, and once again, it is the man of the moment, Otis Lawrence, leading the way. He takes the second round.
Yeah, he does, and once again in emphatic fashion. Very early on he set that lap time, one of the first people to set a lap, and he still manages to top the session by just over 4:10. So yeah, this man is on another level, as we always see. We see this every week, and we'll be seeing this every week, because this guy is incredible.
Well, he's actually absolutely flying high. 6.5 tenths separating first from 10th. Otis leading the way for FRA, and it is a 1-2 at the moment for FRA, with PSR in third, with Saito Amine in fourth, with Connor in fifth, Leopard in sixth, Harris in seventh, NVR on a debut. It is a double Q3 appearance, so then VSR Nico sneaking in for 9th and Blackie in 10th, ET Passy, Griffith, Aiden, and shockingly VSR Finn out of Q2, with Shazoo Lacey also out of the running in P15. So we're through to the final 10 here. Early indications are suggesting certainly that it's looking very likely that Otis is on his way to another pole position here, but it's all about that Q3 performance, and of course with the track as green as it seems to be at the moment, any mistake can usually happen. Anything usually happens around a circuit like this one, and it usually does.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as the Otis is looking really dominant, I think the other 9 positions are definitely up to play for. We've seen how close it was throughout this whole grid, and I think, yeah, I couldn't tell you who's getting second or third. I think Connor's got a good chance. I think Scyther has got a great chance. Lucas has got some great pace as well. So, yeah, Peace as well. Obviously, he managed to make it a 1-2 as well for FRA. So, there's a lot of good drivers on this grid. And, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see who can try and be the closest man to put a bit of pressure on Otis tonight.
There's Ollie Loveland in the chat. Hiya, sir. Nice to see you and see how you're doing here in this WRLD event, of course. And I tell you what, just tuning in, if you are, Ollie, along the rest of you here at the moment, absolutely astonishing qualifying at the moment between a lot of these drivers here, especially VSR, who the last couple of races in races like these just starting to separate and starting to crack from their usual well-oiled machine that is their drivers, and only one of their drivers managing to get in VSR Nico, as ERL Blackie getting out of the way of the Mercedes of, would you believe, Otis Lawrence, trying to get and let him run the show, and maybe, just maybe, Otis can give ERL a little bit of a tow on these laps. And of course, it will make no difference to ERL, because with Otis, he knows that Otis is faster. He will not get in the way on his lap, and he'll get a free tow anyway. And with this generation of vehicles as well, very likely as well that he won't get that much dirty air either.
Yeah, just like to point out as well, Connor Robinson said in the chat very kindly that he's on used tyres this lap, and I think that poses a very interesting point in that there'll be quite a lot of drivers on old tyres at the start of this session, so it'll be interesting to see the time difference. I think Otis Lawrence as well will know that will be on new tyres. He's only set 2 laps in this whole qualifying session. It was very impressive from him. But there's a few others as well that maybe had to work for these sessions a little bit more, so yeah, it'll be really interesting to see the complete difference between a fresh set and a slightly used set as well.
Yeah, you're rightfully pointed out there. Of course, Connor wanted to make very known out there in the world that he's on a used set of tyres, and I won't use the words that Ryan put in the chat, but I think Buck rightly points out, common Ryan Jacobs W. There's a ratio, I think, sir. Let's keep an eye out then on that one. 9.5 minutes left in this qualifying session. First drivers to set their lap time, of course, will be Otis Lawrence, followed by ERL Blackie. And then this man, VSR Nico, will be hoping to try and push for a good lap indeed as we now head through into turn 1. And it is going to be a pretty close one here, I'd have to say, for the VSR driver. Of course, is coming on the back of losing one of their drivers in Q2. And it's not been really the best performance from VSR, and he really needs to get a bit of a shift on in this lap if he wants to try and get some good points on the board for VSR, because with them so wide and separated here, it doesn't look like team strategy is going to be a thing.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Just going to stick him with Otis Lawrence at the moment, the man of this season. Currently on his lap, let's see what he can set, what benchmark he will put for the rest of the drivers just coming through a long right-hander turn 12 now, making sure not to get too much of that curb, but he does take quite a lot of it actually. It's interesting to see that one, but he took it pretty well, and the car handled it a lot better than I thought as well. But a big moment there coming out turn 13, and that car is definitely on the rails now. He's giving it everything he's got. He said the last 30 minutes are just kind of just playing it safe, and now we can really release the anchors now and see what he's got coming through the final corner now. He's really on the limit. He's really using every bit of track that he's got, and he comes across the line now, and it's a 1 minute 27.4. Great lap there from Otis.
Great lap indeed. Will Blackie be able to bounce back maybe with a good lap himself? 29.0, maybe not so much, even with the tow he may have got from Otis earlier on in that particular outlap. Next driver will be VSR Nico as he comes across the final corner, keeping well off the curbs here, as we saw, I believe it was FRA Matthew actually going a little bit wide and end up getting a grid penalty in another event. So he comes across the line, Nico, with only a 29.1. So drivers really are not finding it comfortable out there, but Otis is absolutely loving life at the moment. It is really, really astonishing what is happening out on circuit at the moment.
Yeah, I would imagine Blackie and Nico's times are on those old soft tyres, as we mentioned earlier, so I think that's why it is very underwhelming to see those lap times. But we'll stick on board with NVR Lucas now. His debut in the league and his team's debut for Novus Racing tonight, so it'll be interesting to see what these guys can do coming into the last sector now. 1 minute 6 flat, I'm not too sure how good that is, but we'll see. Anyway, I would imagine these are also on old soft tyres as well, so I'm not expecting an awful lot from the Haas driver, but we'll never know coming into the final 2 corners now. Let's see what he can do. Braking nice and early for the corner, 4th gear, using every bit of track that he can on the exit, and then just opens the DRS just about now, foot flat to the floor, and he comes across the line. What lap is it for the Williams? And it's a 1 minute 27.7. Very good lap there indeed, there from Lucas.
Yeah, very good lap from Lucas. He comes across the line with a 27.0. PSR Connor, PSR are not showing as much pace as I thought they would around Bahrain. Connor with that 28.3. Remember, he is on the old soft tyres that he rightfully points in the chat, but with a 28.3, putting a challenge on the likes of ERL certainly is one to be achieved. It's all dependent really on whether he can put a challenge, because let's be honest, I think the challenge on Otis may be a stretch. It's whether he can challenge Pisti at the moment, the second of the Hungarian heroes, of course, alongside Akos for VSR. Here comes then Pisti. He comes across the line with the DRS open for FRA as he put a challenge in against Connor. At the moment, 0.4 of a second separating the pair of them here. So the old soft tyre, probably around about 2.5 to 3/10. So Connor is within touching distance of Pisti as it stands.
Yeah, definitely. As sticking on with Cypher now, coming out of the final corner, DRS opened and it's foot flat to the floor as he comes across the line, and it's a 127.9. It's P3 for the Williams. Not too bad of a lap, but still a long way off Otis Lawrence in that P1 spot.
On board then with LCR Leopard for Shazoo. Forever a driver that just keeps quiet and gets on with it. But not really much of a social media presence actually for the German, but he nonetheless shows some serious pace around here, does Leopard, as the number 66 will go into turn 10, and actually very, very well taken actually from the Shazoo driver. I'll get my words out eventually as he heads to then turn 11, and then of course that long sweeping right-hander of turn 12, where we see a lot of drivers make mistakes, either touch that curb and you spin, or too much right hand and you will spin. And at the moment here looking like a fairly clean lap, but 6.2 puts him within touching distance of around Scyther's lap time of 9.03. Scyther starting to find a little bit of pace. I think that he perhaps lost in Q1 and Q2 and goes a 100th faster than FRA Pisti, but other PSR Connor on the old soft tyre, of course, within touching distance of Pisti, and therefore in touching distance of Scyther. LCR Leopard also in touching distance of those in front with a 27.9 himself.
Yeah, good lap there from Leopard. VLX Harris now is the next driver to set a lap time. Coming out of the final corner, he goes, he's currently sitting in P10, so things can't get any worse for the Alfa Romeo. Comes across the line, and it's P2. Wow, what a lap time that is. A 126.27.6, sorry. Good lap there from the VLX man.
Where has Velox come from with that lap time? Harris absolutely flying with a 27.6. He'll be happy, certainly with that performance, and he's certainly going to be definitely within the first certainly the first 6 positions on the grid, because the first 3 rows are going to be in and around that 27.6 range. So VLX have come out of nowhere with some serious pace through Harris. Maybe Bahrain is a circuit that VLX prefer. I mean, this is something that we see from many teams across the board where they just feel comfortable. Proper performance here from VLX, as everyone is going mental in the chat, specifically Crispy going up the VLX. Certainly a performance indeed from Velox, who'll be very happy with that one, as plenty of drivers out in the field are just at the moment not finding the grip. PSR can't find the grip, and especially VSR, they're struggling as well. Their fastest driver in 10th place.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to see Blackie and Nico really struggling, both in the 29s, which is well off it when you look at P8's a 28.3. I'd expect a little bit more from PSR Connor as well. I'd imagine he's kind of in the roster for tracks like this. He's on the controller. I'd imagine Bahrain would be one of his better tracks. So yeah, I'd expect a little bit more from PSR Connor in the remaining minutes of this session. So it'll be interesting to see if he can try and catapult his way up the standings. Cypher as well in P4. I think it's really important for him to be second or third. You know, if he's not going to be beaten Otis every week, he has to at least be best of the rest. And at the moment, he's a little bit away off doing that.
Let's have a very quick break, a little bit of a breather, if you will, about what is happening around the field at the moment, because of course there's a small break before people try to go out there and try and get themselves on hot laps across the board. A couple of people on out laps at the moment. We've got Connor and Blackie who've decided to go out early, I'm assuming, so they can have at least a couple of runs on this one. I think one of the drivers towards the back that may have been Lucas, who's left the pits early as well. He wants to get going as well. Very, very interesting scenario happening around us. We've got plenty of because of what you'd consider, let's be honest, the faster teams sort of struggling out there. Maybe the track is just not gluing at the moment to those drivers. The midfield teams have come prepared and are showing a lot of pace. Obviously NVR on their debut on the second row in third place as well. Velox is on the front row as it stands at the moment. So some serious opportunities for some grid positions and therefore potentially some really good points on the board for the midfield team, which is certainly going to be something that people, and especially the midfield teams, will need.
Yeah, as Amini is unfortunately tired from this session, so P7 will be the best he's getting tonight. But yeah, it's a really good point, and it's interesting to see kind of some people you wouldn't expect it to be up here. Harris, Lucas, I definitely wouldn't have predicted that before tonight. So yeah, these guys are doing a fantastic job. But the likes of Cypher, Piste, Leopard, Connor, and even VSR and Nico as well on P10, they've got a big 1 minute 30 ahead of them. They really need to try and get the finger out here and see if they can try and at least get in the front 2 rows.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, he's going to be one to watch. Let's just keep an eye out on the rest of those fields. Everyone now on that out lap now to get going. Blackie has decided to progress on with his lap now as he heads through into turn 4. Look at the front end grip, actually, on Blackie, but not the rear end grip. Very well caught indeed, but I have a feeling that is going to be that attempt over, and it was probably a good call for him to come out so early because he could find the limit of the car. He knows where the limit is. Now slow down and have another go at this. He has got time.
Yeah, that's probably thinking as well for going out so early. He's got that kind of banker behind him. He's got the wall of just he knows he can push a little bit more and then fall back on the second lap. So yeah, not the end of the road for him. Regroup and go again.
Just having a look then around the board here. PSR Connor, his first sector lap time is actually faster than Otis Lawrence's first attempt, believe it or not. Very interesting. I'm just having a quick look now. Remember, of course, he was on the old soft tyre on the first occasion. This is new soft tyre. And having a very quick look at his sector 1 split time in comparison with the likes of Lawrence as it just loads in the background now. He was half a tenth faster than Lawrence. That's something we did see in Q2 where Otis was beaten in the first sector, but the second and third sector is where he's absolutely flying high. And Connor, again, very conservative in that second sector around turn 11, and that may cost him a little bit, and it has cost him. He's 5.5 tenths up in the second sector, but he's not faster than Lawrence, but he's certainly within the touching distance of the likes of Scyther and definitely Lucas as well, as he now heads down towards the final corners. It's going to be the penultimate corner and then it's a right corner, but we don't really call it a corner, but it is a corner legally according to the circuit map anyway. Here he comes then across the final line of the DRS zone. He comes across and it is a 27.5, puts him within touching distance of Otis. But that second sector where he was conservative has let him down a little bit. But keep an eye out on Velix Harris. He is 0.065 seconds up in the first sector, so he is improving, and with lap times that are in round about that first sector lap time, he could be within touching distance of Connor if he pushes in the second sector, which I'm just looking here, and he is pushing certainly a little harder, but again, that rear just starting to step out a little bit. He's pushing as hard as he can because he knows he's definitely in a bit of a risk against the likes of PSR Scyther, as well as Connor, and that's a tank slapper and a half, and that is Harris's last opportunity, I think, now to go any faster. Piste will only go P5 for FRA, so they are struggling at the moment because NVR comes across the line and takes P5 himself. No, pardon me, sorry, he goes to 7th because Leopard has gone forward with Nico in 3rd. Scyther wants to try and get somewhere near PSR Connor. Can he get somewhere near? He goes in front of him with a 27.5 himself. So Otis in the end was in close proximity. He won't improve himself either, so he stays with a 27.4. So that is, as far as I'm aware, all done and dusted. As soon as Blackie comes across the line, where's he going to come? He stays down in 10th.
Yeah, huge last few minutes there for PSR. They really needed that second and third. And then in terms of the team's championship, that's huge for them because you look at FRA, obviously you've got Otis Lawrence, he's winning. But once again, P stayed down in P8, and that is great news for PSR. You need to remember, this is all about the team's championship. That's where the money is, that's where all the glory is. And I was just looking at the standings there. PSR are only 10 points off FRA, so it's really important for these PSR guys to try and be up there when maybe the second driver for FRA isn't delivering. So yeah, a huge last few minutes here from PSR Connor and Scyther, and it'll be interesting to see what the race holds for us.
115 of you tuning in. Thank you very much to every single one of you for your support, as we just see Otis Lawrence taking the third qualifying session and pole position, as he will be very happy with that performance, and so will FRA as well as Veloce Academy. Scyther in second place for PSR, in the end taking that second place spot in very, very last second opportunity for him to take that one, and beats his teammate to the front row, with Connor on the second row alongside VSR. Nico gets a relatively good performance considering VSR struggles on track at the moment. LCR Leopard for Shazoo. Very happy with fifth place is the German, with sharing the third row of the grid with Velox Harris. What a performance from Velox to get that sixth place position, as well as NVR on their debut tonight, 7th and 9th respectively, them separated by FRA Pisty, who's struggling out there as well, as ERL Blackgate down in 10th. And it is indeed going to be a very interesting race ahead of us. Of course, the drivers will now be deciding their strategies ahead. We're expecting it to be a medium hard or a hard medium race. Medium hard is probably the way to go, but some people may choose the inverse strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see now what these PSR guys do. They've got Elite, and P1 on his own. Will they try and split the strategies? Maybe one of them going medium, one of them going hard, split it between the two of them, see if they can put a little bit of pressure on Elite. Or will they just play it safe and go for the optimal strategy? I think that'll be interesting to see what they can do here, and I'll be interested to see what the whole grid think of what the best strategy is.
I'm certainly looking forward to being alongside you for this one. We'll be back very shortly for the continued coverage of WOR Legacy Division. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen, across the world. You're tuning in to WOR. This is the Legacy Division, and of course it is myself, Jota, alongside Callum for this event here for round number 3 in Bahrain. Thank you very much. If you are tuning in alongside us for this one, there was 120 of you coming into this particular session, and at the moment, strategy-wise, after a very intense qualifying, seeing everyone within 1 second of each other in all of the events ahead of us, Otis Lawrence leads away from Scyther, Connor, Nico, and then Leopard. And then it is Harris, Lucas, Pisty, Amine, and Blackie, all electing to start on the hard tyres, apart from Blackie at the moment on the mediums. As we said before the break, as it stood, Cal, medium to hard, hard to medium, the way to go. Would you reckon there's going to be someone that's going to try and gamble on the softs?
Oh, softs, absolutely not. I think the softs are just a little bit too rubbish, unfortunately, to see anyone go on it. I think, as I said earlier on, I think it will just be safety cars when we'll see them. Maybe with 7-8 laps to go, we'll see the softs. But other than that, I don't think we'll see the softs making another appearance tonight, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame. We'll have to see what happens. Ahead of us, though, we've got the Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, we've got plenty of laps ahead. Now, Otis really, really flexing his muscles in qualifying. He showed a lot more pace versus the rest of the field in qualifying alone here than he did pretty much throughout the entire race weekend in Abu Dhabi. Is the Grand Slam on the cards, do you reckon, for Otis?
It definitely is. It always is. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can do that. I'm also interested to see if Scyther can keep the pressure like he did last week, because if everyone watched last week, we seen it last week, Scyther really was up his backside for the whole race. So I'll be interested to see if he can do that again, if he can keep up that level of pressure, and see if he can try and push Otis into a very uncharacteristically mistake.
So, just having a quick look in the chat then, before we get going in this one. Of course, Ryan Jacobs proudly supporting the guys over at Paradox Sim Racing. Very happy indeed with a 2-3 between the pair of them, but it wasn't all plain sailing throughout qualifying. They were struggling, Scyther especially struggling with what seems to be the track just not evolving very well. He is electing to start on the hard tyre here. If the track is not going to be as evolved as what it was throughout the majority of qualifying, PSR could really be struggling here, especially starting on the hard.
Yeah, definitely could be. Completely off topic, I was just reading the chat there, and Caesar said his corner cutting is on regular, so I went to check it, and the corner cutting is on regular, which is very bizarre. It's obviously a mistake from the host, and I think it could be a mistake that might just see this lobby restart, unfortunately.
That would be disappointing if that is the case, but the driver's handbook gets handed out, doesn't it, every beginning of the just before the race begins, just before the whole race weekend, begins, and it specifically specifies the areas that, of course, people need to make sure that they don't track extend. So it could be a matter of discretion between the drivers, or they're all just going to make an agreement to say this is going to be a race where mistakes may happen and we'll have to manage it, or are they going to say no, hammers are firmly down, we are not going to let this continue, and we are going to restart. That is going to be a question that is going to be asked. Unfortunately, I have no access to be able to get to the chats without essentially breaking the stream at the moment, so we'll have to see what happens. So that will be managed, obviously, according. Let's keep an eye out on what happens here on this one. Rev Caterpillar in the chat as well. Nice to have you alongside us, Rev. Just flat out NVR, yeah. I mean, NVR absolutely flying high. And that migrating hosts thing at the bottom there, and it looks like ETE Recluse was the host there, so he's the one who's going to be getting sacked, I believe, is the one that ESV Bobberts was looking for. It looks to me as if we are going to be heading towards a restart on this particular occasion, so we are going to just dip out, and we'll be back very shortly for this event in Bahrain as we start to change the rules and make sure everyone is abiding by them. See you in a bit. We are still waiting for the new lobby to be set up, but of course, as soon as that one gets going, we'll be getting ahead with our race. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with some music. Maybe we'll try a bit of the F1 2022 music. Back in a bit.
Wow.
Hi there, folks. We're still waiting on a lobby to be set up. I'm still trying to find out any more information about the race restart, so of course we will keep you in the loop as we get going for the next round of this event. The race will be beginning very shortly, but in the meantime, here's the music. Terribly sorry, folks, about the delay. We are now in a lobby as we try to get this race all ready and raring to go. And I'm sure with a little bit more time we'll be up and running in the next couple of minutes. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with the music. Hi there, folks. We are in the lobby and we're just trying to set up that grid, so the grid will be all ready and raring to go for this race ahead of us. I am looking forward to being alongside you with Cal in just a few short moments, and we'll be back for racing here in Bahrain. Stay tuned. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. You're tuning in to WOR. This is the Legacy Division here in Bahrain. We are obviously just having to commit to that restart as a result of the issues that we experienced as a result of the rules not being set up properly. And it turns out that we had people set up on regular corner cutting, so we hopefully will be going into the race very shortly indeed. However, it is myself, Jota, alongside Cal once again, and before we do get going, it is that time where we just have to obviously thoroughly go through what happened obviously yesterday, the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She did pass away in very, very upsetting circumstances across the United Kingdom and in the Commonwealth, and the whole of WOR sends regards to the royal family as well as those that are close to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to this one tonight, though. A little bit of a wait, unfortunately. So, yeah, it slightly delays the anticipation. But, yeah, we'll be looking forward to it. A few drivers on hard, few drivers on mediums. And, yeah, we'll be looking forward to getting stuck in tonight.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to being alongside you for this one, Cal. So, this is what we do then. We now head forward into what is going to be a very, very intense race ahead of us. This is, again, the opportunity to see what strategies people want to pick on, and an opportunity may be for PSR, because in that last lobby people were experiencing some really heavy issues, shall we say, when it comes to the grid and more specifically to the greenness of the track. People were struggling with grip out there, and PSR throughout qualifying were really struggling, weren't they, with the grip issues, more specifically Scyther. It managed to get second place in the end after the track evolved significantly. Looking forward to it now, it's a completely different track potentially because of the race restart, so maybe an opportunity for PSR to kick it out right out the blocks, but it's all dependent really, isn't it, on what's that track going to be out there going to be like now, because it's going to be foreign.
Yeah, it definitely will be. It'll be interesting to see how these drivers react. And I think, I said it last week, but I think even more so this week, it's really important for Scyther or Connor or anyone else to get a good start here and maybe just try and disrupt Elite a little bit, get him off his game a little bit, just try and rattle him in a sense. And I think a good one to look out for at the start here is PSR Connor on the controller. Slightly, they're kind of more normal to have better starts. It's kind of common to see that. So it'll be interesting to see if Connor can get a good start on the hard tyres. It's obviously not going to be easy. Everyone's going to be struggling at the start. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can adapt better and who can try and make the most of the first few laps.
So we are going to be looking forward then ahead of us. We have got plenty of drivers all electing to start on the hard tyres, top 10 and top 11 starting on the hard tyre as it stands. However, medium tyres going on for the Bunga Bunga Racing team through BRT Griffiths, and ERL also splitting their strategies as well, hard to medium between Blackie and Aiden, with Magician for Bunga Bunga also as well on the medium tyre, and Halo as well, the hero-ish of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last week at the back of the grid on the medium tyre as well. So 30 seconds to go. Very, very short amount of time. Early favourites suggest Otis winning this one, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has to be a miracle to see anything less. And I'm not too sure if Otis is readied up, but it does look like the medium compounded tyres for that Mercedes.
Going to be interesting to see. And of course, remember, all of the drivers are going to be on a completely foreign track to them because this is a new lobby and we've got no formation lap, so they're going to go straight into the race and try and figure it out on their own. This is going to be an interesting one. The drivers are readying up on the grid. And with those drivers lined up, we're counting down the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go. The drivers, here they are. It is a really good start down that inside line here for Otis, and he's trying to hold on quite heavily here, actually, versus Scyther, who's under a little bit of pressure from PSR Connor early on here, but he's going to have the inside line going into the corner, but Scyther swipes around the outside line to hold on. PSR Connor in 3rd place, followed by Nico with Piste in 5th place, Leopard in 6th, Emine in 7th, and position change-wise, Piste having a really good start, up 3 positions, and Shazoo Lacey up 7 early on.
Yep, look really good start there up front, all pretty clean, but in the midfield it's all kicking off now, isn't it? The Red Bull Shazul Lacey did a great start up into P8 already. He's really made the most of his tyres on the new track. Alex Harris trying his best to make that position back, but to no avail. But so far, all looking pretty clean.
Oh, NVR Lucas, we're already down a driver as he's been in a collision, I think, with someone, and it's brought out the virtual safety car as a result. So full course yellow as all of the drivers will now slow down to 40% of their usual pace. I don't know what happened there to the NVR driver, but he was showing some real promise throughout this race for the NVR team on their debut tonight, but it's all over before it's really got started. At turn 6, he's out of the race.
Yeah, real shame there from Lucas, as you mentioned. The pace looked really good on his debut as well. The qualifying pace was certainly there, so yeah, it was a real shame we didn't get to see a little bit more of him in the race. But listen, those things happen. Racing can be fickle at points, so yeah, unfortunate stuff there from the Novus driver.
So Novus losing one driver. They've got one driver left in Amine, and he doesn't really have the pace of Lucas that has been flexed in the qualifying sessions early on. So he's still in 7th place though with the points, but plenty of racers ahead of us. Let's see what happens indeed as they start the second lap here. And Scyther wanted to put Otis under some serious pressure going into this end of this VSC period. They are very close and personal as Finn and Griffiths, as well as ETE, Recluse and Magician swapping positions because Magician is coming into the pits very early on into this session here, with Griffiths and Finn still swapping positions here. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a bug happening between the pair of them. Hopefully it's not going to cause too many issues as we do go green again here in Bahrain, and it looks to me as if Otis has not caught Scyther napping. Scyther's still putting the pressure on him, and within the DRS territory, which of course is going to be unaffected after that VSC period, he holds on. PSR Connor though already falling out of the DRS period of his teammate, 1.1 seconds behind.
Yeah, not so sure what's happened to Connor there, but certainly caught on that restart, and it's fallen under a little bit of pressure now from Nico as well. He's up in P4 at the moment, or he started P4, he's staying in P4.
Oh, that's a mistake from Otis. That's a mistake from Otis going through turn 10, and him and Scyther are going side by side now, heading into turn 11. Scyther's going to have the opportunity to go down the inside line, but the outside is what you need around here. But Scyther is going to sweep round the inside line, and Otis trying to get the switch back as he holds on, but he needs the inside of turn 12 if he wants to hold on. And an uncharacteristic mistake from FRA Elite now drops him down to 2nd place. He's still trying to put the pressure on him through turn 13, and that has caught Scyther napping, and they're still going side by side, heading through into turn 14, but Otis decides to hold on. An uncharacteristic mistake from possibly the best driver on Xbox. He's down to 2nd.
Yeah, he is, but I don't think it'll be for long. He's all over the back of Scyther once again. It's still very close. Scyther, he's trying to break that DRS, the slipstream, I should say, sorry. But Otis, he's not too bothered. He's happy to sit behind, and he's happy to just try and get back into that rhythm.
Well, he's still behind. No DRS, of course, but the DRS is now enabled at the end of this lap now. So, of course, he's still within the close proximity, but an uncharacteristic mistake. Perhaps his tyres were just not switched on after that VSC period, and another tag slapper from from Otis, rather. Lotus, wow. He is really struggling out there at the moment on these hard tyres, but he bottoms out on the curb, and PSR Connor might be putting some pressure here on FRA Elite. Very intriguing stuff happening with Mercedes here.
Yeah, you don't see this often, do you? But Otis, he just doesn't look comfortable out there, does he? Scyther really got the better of him on these first 3 laps so far. But if he can just get back into that rhythm, Otis, I'm sure we'll see him back to his best pretty soon. He's in that DRS of Scyther as well now, which is very, very important for his race.
Of course, that is a very, very intriguing scenario. Now, this is the corner where he made a mistake at turn 10. A lot more cleaner this time from Otis. He's struggling out there in this early part of this race here. We did put our sort of money here, you'd have to say, on Otis winning this one, but I think our 50p's may be in a little bit of a question mark at the moment, and a little bit of a limbo if he keeps on with performance little mistakes like that one, because of course a couple of tank slappers that could have easily seen him get out of this race, and he is still in it. But he is, in this lap anyway, losing a bit of time. He's under a little bit of pressure, and he's been track extending a couple of times as well. Whether he's managed to stave off getting a warning or not is another question. I'd love to know if he did get away with a warning on this lap as he comes across that final corner, and he'll now head down the straight, where of course DRS will be available for all of the drivers from 1st all the way down to 6th, as Amine is trying to hold on, but Alex Harris is putting a nice cushion between him and the other Shazoo driver of Lacey, lap 4.
Yeah, he isn't. He's just losing that DRS to Leopard at the moment, which isn't great. It's a 6-car train at the moment. We've not seen that so often, have we? But there you have it. All the top six, just about staying within each other. But VS and Nico got a little bit of work to do through this middle sector if he wants to just stay within touching distance of P-State.
Well, here's a little bit of a tongue twister for you. First, second, third, fourth is Williams, Mercedes, 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 William, Mercedes, 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 as they are leading away from VSL Nico in the Ferrari. He is in fifth place, and he'll be very happy to swallow up any positions that made any mistakes between the PSR and FRA boys at the moment, as VSR are looking to try and keep on with their consistency, but at the moment they are separated still between 5th and 11th at the moment, as Finn is stuck in a bit of a DRS train between Harris all the way down as far as Passy at the moment, with Aiden H being at the back of that particular arrangement. Otis now starting to find a little pace at the moment is Lawrence in the Mercedes, and now Scyther maybe under some pressure here, and usually you'd see about 80-90% of ERS available on Otis Lawrence's car. At the moment that's 75%, so he's not really putting too much pressure on him. He's just accepted it's a couple of mistakes, and actually, is he going for the early case here? I should imagine he's not. He's surely going to hold on for the DRS if he can, and that's exactly what he's doing, as Scyther maybe just lifting off a little bit earlier, but a little mistake, leaving a little bit of a gap maybe on the apex, which is going to allow Lawrence to take the lead of this race as he goes side by side. Not too much pressure happening, but leaving it very, very tight for Scyther, and it's surely not going to go for the dive is Scyther as he holds on. He's going to get DRS going into turn 4. The question is he going to go for it? Very excellently executed turn 2 into turn 3 as he holds on for turn 4, but he's so quick on the power is Lawrence, and he is going to be able to hold on, I imagine, going into turn 4. Scyther trying to put the pressure on, but he's not going to put too much pressure on. He stays behind, and he's down to second.
Keep an eye on FRA Piste here at the moment, currently sitting in P4, but on the medium compound tyre, the softer compounds out of the two that we're seeing on at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see if he can make the most of these tyres. He needs to try and get by Connor if he can. If not, he just needs to make sure he can try and save the ERS and try and save the tyres, because at the moment he's not really put so much pressure on PSR Connor.
So we'll keep an eye out on that one here as we go through back into turn 10 again, where Lawrence did make his mistake earlier on, but he's managed to recover that one, no problem at all. And he's already starting to pull a gap here at the moment on Scyther, as the gap is now was up to around about 8 tenths. Now make that 5.5 as they head out of the DRS zone. Is Scyther going to stay within DRS territory before entering into the DRS detection point just before turn 13? That is the question on my mind here, and I'd say he's a bit of a risk here because he's not as quick as Lawrence is on the accelerator pedal, as we've got a yellow flag wave for the soft tyre runner of Magician for Bunga Bunga, down in 19th place and 26 seconds behind everyone else after making that early pit stop under the virtual safety car. Scyther does stay within DRS territory, but now nearly 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, he definitely isn't looking too good, but man, it is looking good as FR8 Piste, coming down the inside of PSR Connor. Connor not putting up too much of a fight, and the inside line is all the Mercedes, but a bit of a lock up there might just allow Connor to get the switch back, but maybe those mediums are a little bit too soft. But looking at that, Otis Lawrence, 3 second time penalty for multiple warnings. You don't see that often, and that could be huge in the outcome of this race.
Yeah, it's a very huge outcome for Lawrence to already get a 3 second time penalty for his troubles. Obviously, he got one after getting that tank slapper at turn 3, and he track extended to return the car back into a drivable position, but he track extended and got the 3 and got a warning, and that has definitely contributed to his third and final warning before getting the first penalty of the race. And who'd have thought the first penalty of this race has gone to Lawrence in first place? He is struggling a little bit with the track limits.
Yeah, he is, and it's interesting to see now that breaking the DRS is going to be so much more important for Otis now. If he wants to win this race, 3 seconds will be added to his time anymore, so it is not enough to just win it on track. This is only lap 6 as well, and we're talking about penalties, so yeah, really bizarre to see Otis have a penalty. He's one of the best, probably the best on Xbox, so yeah, really rare to see someone of his calibre picking up a penalty so early.
Scyther just about leaving the DRS territory now of Otis Lawrence. He's putting the overtake button into use here to try and get back in DRS territory if he can, but he's not. He's out of it. 1.017 seconds as he came across the line, and he's also getting a little bit of a rear end snap as well, is Scyther, and that is Otis Lawrence with the fastest lap of the race, but it was with a penalty, so that's maybe under question indeed at the moment, but he is on his way as it stands anyway to a Grand Slam victory. Pisty also on that medium tyre, despite getting in front of Connor, suddenly really really struggling with pace at the moment, and there's your reason why. Take a look at that steering wheel. He's derating. He's down to 0% ERS going into turn 4. He is not managing his ERS effectively, and now he's at serious risk of being overtaken by Connor again, maybe even Nico, and don't forget, of course, the Shizou driver of Leopard down in 6th.
Yeah, not ideal at all there from Piste. You need to remember he's on his softer compounded tyres, so he really needs to make the most of it now, because it means come the end of the race, he will be in hards, everyone else will be on those medium tyres, and he'll just be that much slower. So yeah, definitely not ideal from Piste, and it's really important to at least stay within that DRS of Cypher, which he's not managed to do so far. He's out of that DRS, once again, D-dating under 5% ERS. Things are not looking so good for this Mercedes man.
Yeah, I'm just monitoring the speed at the moment of the Mercedes of Piste at the moment. The second of the Hungarian heroes, obviously alongside VSR Akos, and as it stands at the moment, he is probably down around about 10 or 15 kilometers per hour on the straights versus those behind him. So he really needs to get a shift on and start looking after his ERS here, because he's at serious risk of losing buckets of time. As a result of that ERS mismanagement, he's now down to 1.3 seconds versus Cypher, despite being on arguably the best tyre at the moment in third place. PSR Connor, 50% ERS, and he's not going to push that hard. He doesn't have to use overtake, because with all of that electrical energy, he can just keep it in standard, and he will be able to catch up quite nicely to the Mercedes, and he's actually gained around about 3/10 just on the straight alone, now 0.6 of a second, as he then heads down the second DRS zone. That will make the 3/10 up after the two, and push him down to around about 0.5 of a second, and that is exactly the case for him now, and not the best corner, and very, very much not the best corner at all from Piste, as he loses a little bit more time, and I believe FRA not showing their best, but they've got the pace. That's probably the way I describe it at the moment.
Yeah, and you look at Oates at the moment, 1.9 seconds, that's insane. He got that 3-second penalty, but it didn't really seem to phase him, did it? You look at it now, he managed to break the DRS from Cypher, which was crucial, and then as much as that, he managed to build on that gap, and he's even extended it now to just about 2 seconds. So yeah, he's looking really good at the moment. As well, the ERS is not looking as good, 16% for Otis, but again, Cypher down on 14%, and as well documented for Piste only on 5% as well. So the top three all very much struggling with this ERS.
Everyone out there at the moment may end up without a time penalty. Otis could be the one on his own. Picture the scenario. This penalty situation is as it is right now. It is lap 27. The safety cars come out. If you were Otis Lawrence at this point, what would you be doing?
Oh, you would be a happy man. I think that's what I could guarantee him anyway. You know, that's probably his worst nightmare. I think that's the only thing that will be stopping him now, and I wouldn't write it off either. We've seen it in any tier of league racing. You see a late safety car, especially tonight. I think a late safety car could certainly be on the kilt.
Certainly could be around Bahrain at the moment, especially between all of these drivers. And here comes Shazoo's LCR Leopard, and he is blocking up ever so slightly going into turn one, but keeping within very close proximity of Nico, and he's really started to pick up the pace a little bit here, and I'm wondering if he's going to be looking for a move potentially going into turn one on the next lap here, as the Shazoo driver looking to try and maybe make a move on the VSR driver to start putting PSR under pressure with Connor, and Connor himself really needs to start getting a shift on here, because with Piste struggling with electrical energy, surely he should be the significantly faster driver versus FRA Piste on the straights, but at the moment he's just not finding the time in the corners. Maybe the medium tyres just working at the moment for Piste. Here we go then through turn 10, and Leopard once again just holding on to the back end at the moment of VSR Nico, but again on the accelerator pedal, VSR just a little bit faster.
Yeah, it definitely is like that, a bit faster at the moment, and the medium tyres aren't looking a lot better than the hards. I think they're starting to fall off now. However, I do say that Piste looks like he's maybe just got within that DRS range. However, it will be very close, 3% ERS. He has not got much left as Piste is really pushing it. He's even went off the track there, he's giving it everything. It's just about that 1 second range. I think Cypher knows it as well. Cypher's down to 3% as well. These two giving it their all, and once again, Piste, all that has came down to nothing. Over 1 second, no DRS for the Mercedes once again.
He's derating and he's using overtake with no energy, so it's like you know, pushing a button that's not coded to anything essentially. He's just got no power at all in that Mercedes power unit, and certainly down at least 15 or 20 kilometers per hour going down the end of the straight, and he's got to try and stick that car into a harvesting sort of strategy here, which the way you do that one is lift and coast. But again, look, on the overtake button with what energy, Piste, and he is trying his hardest to get within the 1 second barrier, I think, of Scyther, so he can have Scyther essentially pull him down the straight here, and he's sort of in and out of the 1 second barrier, but Connor is getting ever so closer to the back of that Mercedes, and as soon as Piste starts getting overtaken, I have a horrible feeling he's going to begin to hemorrhage places versus Nico Leopard, and maybe even Amine later down the line, who's 3 seconds back on the top 6 at the moment. Harris still 2 seconds behind Amine, and Griffiths, for Bunga in 9th place at the moment, 2.5 seconds as it stands behind the driver in 10th, in 8th rather, for Velox. So, and he's on the medium tyre as well. That's slowly going to age. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a little bit of a battle starting to brew, actually, between those in the midfield. And let's cut to them actually very briefly, as it looks to me as Aiden is starting to be start to get a little bit of a shift on maybe versus Bunga Racing's Griffiths.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see the battle for points starting to develop down there. Just going back quickly to Pista, he has got that DRS. All that ERS usage has came to something now. So yeah, he's got DRS, but just no ERS now to go with it, unfortunately. But yeah, good stuff there from Pista. Persistence did work in the end.
Good work from him. Let's see what happens then between ERL Aiden and BRT Griffiths. And he is starting to begin his push now, is the 10th place runner. As he's getting closer and closer, he's going to go for the move down the inside line into turn 1. A relatively easy move for the ERL driver, as ERL looking to try and kickstart their season, really. But he's going to get the switch back, actually, is BRT Griffiths. And actually a very good move from Griffiths as they go side by side going into turn 4. This is some mighty close racing between the pair of them, and they're just going to shut the door. Is the McLaren in front of Aiden, and he stays in 9th place with Lacey for Shazoo just hovering behind them, waiting for what he feels will be an inevitable mistake, as we have our second penalty in this race, and that is for Bunga's Magician speeding in the pit lane. 5-second penalty.
Yeah, it's tough stuff there from Magician. Not the best debut for him, is it? So down P19 now on the hard tyres. I think that's his third stop of the race, or maybe his second stop, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, interesting to see that one there. It's looking really back for P12 as VSR Finn once again going wide at that corner. I seen him do it earlier on in the race. I never mentioned it, but he did do that earlier on in the race, running wide at turn, I think it's turn 10. But once again, he's done it again, and it's a big mistake down in P13. Definitely not what you would expect to find a VSR driver these days.
Really, really good racing here for 9th, 10th and 11th place at the moment. This little battle that's happening here. Lacey is just hanging back here. He's got a little bit of electrical energy available at his disposal. I think Aiden does as well. How's Griffiths looking? Yeah, they're all looking around about the same at the moment. Around about 20-ish% ERS strategy. And I'm looking at the fuel modes at the moment, and there's plenty of fuel available for both drivers here. LCR Leopard and Nico swapping positions down on the straight, but as is Aiden, as he goes around the outside of turn 1 this time to cover off the McLaren, and the McLaren surely is going to be too far back to have another go at this one, and he certainly is, but he is going to have the DRS available versus the Alpha Tauri on this occasion. Lacey not having the best exit into turn 2 into turn 3, so Griffiths is now going to put the Alpha Tauri under some pressure, but he stays back, and in that little battle, Aiden in front of Griffiths for the first time in this race on that medium tyre as well, and their strategy surely coming into play probably within the next couple of laps as they move on to the hards.
Yeah, just want to briefly mention as well, up front, Otis Lawrence is doing fantastically well at the moment. 3.3 seconds is the gap now between him and Cypher. Remember that 3-second time penalty got a few laps ago? That does not matter now. He is well and truly out of that range, and he's doing a great job now. The only thing that can stop Otis is possibly a late safety car.
Safety cars could really affect him here, because he's only just, remember, he might have only just got, I think it was lap 6 he got that penalty. That's 6 laps ago, and he's only just managed to get out of the territory, and here comes Stephen. He is out of the race after crashing going through turn 10 into the wall, and guess what? The safety car has come right out. Well done there, Cal. You must admit that is going to be a little bit of a curse to the commentator on that one. Lotus then in his scenario is obviously going to have to come into the pit surely, and it is going to be a double stack as well for Mercedes, you'd expect as well. Medium tyres will be going on for Otis, hard tyres will be going on for FRA Pisti. Connor is staying out. He doesn't want to double stack with Cypher, so he now goes out towards the front and will meet the safety car. Here comes the Williams then. He comes off the hards as to be expected onto the mediums. He'll come out behind Otis Lawrence. 3-second penalty is on the record at the moment for Otis as well, so just bear in mind with that hard tyre that's on for Connor, if he gets a good getaway and stays on that hard tyre and stays on in first place for the purpose of helping Cypher here, Otis could be in some big trouble here.
Yeah, he definitely could be. It's interesting to see PSR Connor staying out. I understand double stacking isn't ideal, but yeah, this is a tough one for Connor to take now. He's going to be no hards. He's going to get absolutely swallowed up by literally everyone else on this grid with fresh tyres, either fresh mediums or fresh hards. So yeah, it's a very interesting call from Connor, and you know, I could be wrong, but I think it could be the wrong one.
We don't know who the driver of the day is going to be, but we know the host of the day, ETE Recluse, 17th place for him at the moment. There's a little bit of pressure, unfortunately, falling on his shoulders after that slight mistake, which has led to the lobby restart. In 17th place, but he managed to get that lobby set up, all well and good, and here's an opportunity for him, as well as Magician, to get back in the standings as well, of course. Now, Magician could serve his 5-second penalty now, if he wanted to, and get back onto a set of medium tyres, but he's elected, for some reason, to stay out. So he's now going to be joining at the back of this grid on the hard tyre for Bonga Bonga. ETE down in 17th, as I said, and in 14th, respectively. ERL Blackie, a little bit disappointed with 15th at the moment, and Velox through Sam in 16th place. Harris on for points at the moment with 8th place as it stands. Bunga Bunga on a possibility for points as well as HSR as well on their debut alongside Bunga Bunga. Sorry, HSR rather. It'll be NVR. I'll get there in the end. Novus on there for points on their debut tonight as well, so good work from them. But as it stands at the moment, PSR, FRA, PSR, FRA, Shazoo.
Yeah, and a few people who I think have gone under the radar, how much this has benefited them was the guys that started on the medium compounded tyre. FRA Piste, you've got BRT Griffiths and ERL Aiden are the three that stand out there. All these guys starting on the medium compounded tyre, and just round about their pit window, the safety car comes out. They're now on these hard compounded tyres, and yes, they will be slower than these medium guys for the first maybe 10-15 laps, but they come near the end of this stint, when we're getting to the end of this race, they'll really come into their own. And I think we could maybe see a late charge from Piste, a late charge from Griffiths, when these guys in the mediums are starting to be thinking about their tyres more and maybe starting to struggle with that tyre wear, because it's definitely going to play a huge factor coming to the later stages of this race.
So just monitoring the situation around us at the moment as we've got Magician. Is he going to take the opportunity to come into the pits? And he has probably heard my call. An opportunity for the McLaren to come in, serve his 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, get onto a set of medium tyres, and then join at the back of the grid. And the safety car will be out for at least another lap after this one if he doesn't join at the back. So he's got nothing to lose just to serve that penalty and come in. And it's a cheap pit stop for him, and he'll join right at the back of the grid, and he will be racing alongside the likes of Recluse and Sam in P16 and 17th place. But as it stands at the moment, the only driver out on the field with a time penalty is still Lawrence in second place.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my head over that one. Bahrain isn't normally a track you'd associate with getting time penalties as well, so especially when a driver of Otis's calibre getting a 3-second penalty 6 laps into the race just shows you just kind of how rough those first few laps are. And it's the first time I've ever seen probably some cracks in Otis, and it was only for the 6 laps, and you get back to his best and back to kind of the dominance that we've seen. But yeah, it was really interesting, you know, those first 6 laps. He's definitely had the better 6 laps than that, but nonetheless, as I said, he recovered extremely well from that, and I said the car definitely not doing him any favours. And PSR Connor, he's going to have to get his elbows out here, because he could definitely do his teammate Cypher in P3 a big favour here by trying to hold up Lawrence and possibly try and help his teammate Cypher get through into that net P1.
There's a little bit of a misunderstanding happening in the chat at the moment between the WOR account and a new viewer in the chat as well, in Parody Marla, asking where Elite is. Elite is currently in second place, and look at PSR Connor has made the last minute call. He is coming in for a set of medium tyres very late, and I'm not exactly sure why he's done that, because now PSR are going to lose a driver. Otis is going to lead the way, and Scyther is under quite a bit of pressure here, and yeah, I mean, PSR is going to fall all the way down to P17 as a result of this one. I am a bit puzzled as to why Connor has chosen to do that and not done it as soon as the safety car came out, because PSR seemed to have just said, you know what, I don't want these points.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think maybe they've realised their mistake and thought, we'll try and just bite the bullet, and maybe they thought pitting now would have been better than racing for 5 laps then pitting or whatever. So yeah, it's unfortunate for Connor. He's driving a great race, he's on for some good points, but yeah, I think a lot of the kind of, when it came to the crunch time there, he made the wrong call. I think it was as simple as that. I understand why he wanted to stay out, however I think he had to bite the bullet, double stack behind his teammate, and yeah, he's paying the price for it now. Yeah,
he's definitely paid the price. So Otis, again, the only person with the time penalty at the moment, is now leading this way, and he's going to lead the charge of the drivers at the end of this lap. Worth mentioning, by the way, to the guy in the chat, Parody, is asking the question of where is FRA Elite? It is Otis Lawrence. I think the reason as to why people are saying in the chat, like, are you joking? Are you being serious? Like, the reason why is because a lot of people were taking the mix saying where's off FRA Elite earlier on, because of course Otis Lawrence has now changed his gamer tag to his name, of course, trying to take the racing a bit more seriously, the esports scene a bit more seriously after his promotion to the Veloce Academy. So that may just explain what's going on in there. Either way, we are going to be going green at the end of this one. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, and Otis will be the person, FRA Elite will be the person to slow down the field, and he will gather the thoughts and he will decide when he wants to go. But remember, a couple of times he's had a half spin out here. If those tyres are cold, he's at serious risk of potentially making a mistake here.
Yep, I think if Scyther wants to overtake him, he has to do it now. So he has to be on his toes here and try and react to when Otis goes.
We'll have to see here then. So he comes across that final corner right now. That does the Mercedes, and Otis is leaving it relatively late before he wants to go here, and you can't blame him. Scyther wants to stay as close as he possibly can. He's waiting for him to go here, and there he does go with the acceleration pedal down. We go green again here in Bahrain, and he's already trying to break the toe immediately out of the blocks. But Scyther, look at this, they've got 3 or 4 drivers going potentially 4 wide. Scyther going around the outside line. This is going to be a bold overtake if he can hold on, but he chooses in the end to stay behind with Leopard. Also in the mix, he's battling hard with Pisty at the moment in P4. As more people battling around, there's a little bit of touching happening between Nico and Harris. And that's a battle between VSR and Velox at the moment. Really good race between these guys. As they head through into turn 4, he's going to have the inside line with Velox, but he's a little bit behind. But he does manage to hold on. And Velox up to 5th place as he gets into a collision there with the Ferrari of VSR Nico. And now they're battling between themselves, the 2 VSR drivers. As now here comes Lacey into that little battle between them, as Velox is still trying to hold on with Bunga Bunga Racing's Griffiths around the outside going into turn 8, into turn 9. But as he holds on, does Velox Harris. He stays in P7 in a very controversial situation up between them and VSR in the end, as he tries to hold on behind the McLaren, but the medium tyre runner on the Alfa Romeo stays behind the hard tyre runner of Griffiths. Hard tyres on for Aiden and Pisty as well, but Shazoo flying high with Leopard. He's up to 3rd.
Oh wow, what a crazy restart that was. Moves going everywhere, drivers going side by side all over the shop there. But yeah, great racing. It was all pretty clean raced as well. So credit to all the drivers. But Griffiths, what a start he had up into P6 on those hard tyres, and definitely has to get the elbows out if he wants to try and remain in that position. He's got Velox Harris right up behind him now. He'll be looking to try and make some inroads on him as well. So yeah, keep an eye on that battle for P6, because I think we might see some changes happening there pretty soon.
Yeah, interesting battle happening at the moment for the lead then. So Otis takes the fastest lap of this race after the safety car, of course, but Scyther is really breathing down his neck at the moment, and he might want to go for the dive, and I won't blame him if he chooses to. He stays behind, but he has a mistake as Otis. I did say Lawrence may struggle in this early onset of this race. He's been struggling after that, and another tank slapper well caught, and Scyther under some serious pressure here to potentially get the move done. You'd expect PSR surely are going to look for it, because he's not going to outrace him on track in normal conditions, this Scyther, but he is going to hold on. And Otis track extending again. He's at serious risk of getting a 6-second penalty as it stands here.
Yeah, definitely is, but he's really pushing here, and once again maybe struggling to get to grips on this restart here, as Griffiths lost that position to Harris. In the end there, he's down into P7, as VLX Harris got a great start here, might even be P5 soon, as he's looking to try and get the move on the hard tyre runner of ERL, Aiden.
I'm still trying to question exactly what PSR were thinking by pitting Connor at this particular point now, because he's in 14th place with the medium tyre. Of course, he still need to make that pit stop, but the Ferrari strategy is not going to work in this occasion with you racing alongside the likes of course, the new guys in NVR and VSR as well, and Velox. They may be not up to the pace, but they've of the top teams, but they're still going to be in the way and racing in their own individual races, and it's just a bitterly disappointing stuff for PSR here, especially if this race is going to go the way I think it's going to go here, which is Scyther is going to not really be in touching distance of Otis here. He really should have gone for that dive into turn 4 in my opinion, but I'm just a humble guy that shies down a microphone.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, just looking at the battle for P5, VLX Harris on the medium tyre, he's definitely making the most of this softer compound here, but definitely Aiden, he's putting up a fight for this, coming down into turn 1, Harris, later on the brakes, he gets that move done, he squeezes out the Alpha Tower as well, and up into P5, Griffiths as well in P7, he's looking to try and get stuck in as well, and there you have it, the inside line, but big contact there as well, a late move there from ERL, Aiden, so Griffiths going down the long way now, into turn 4, what can he do with this one? Surely it's just about going to get pushed out, run out of the road here, but he's keeping on in there, BRT Griffiths, what can he do now, coming in the left, right here, you don't normally see too much overtaking going around here, and definitely once again he's sitting behind, but VSR fan as well, he's definitely up the back of Griffiths.
Oh, that's bold!
The outside, very late and very bold indeed it is, but Griffiths just about hanging on to that P7 there, he's looking all roads now, Griffiths front and behind, VSR fan going around outside in turn 9 and 10, but he's definitely not going to make any inroads there, but BRT Griffiths getting involved in all ways here now.
Well, my mouth was wide open. I was catching flies then at the moment. That was bold move from Finn around that outside line. I don't know how he found the space there, I think he might have done a little bit of a Lando squad down the inside line in that battle with Griffiths, and that was a bold dive bomb between him and the BRT driver of Griffiths, and now he's under pressure from Lacey here. The medium tyres on Finn, he just doesn't want to battle too hard, and that's a horrible collision between Nico and Griffiths, and it looks like to be another driver at the back as well. I'm trying to figure out who it is. I think it might have been Recluse. I'm not entirely sure, actually. No, Recluse is still in there. I think it was between just Griffiths and that battle with Nico, and I believe it might have been Velox Sam. I'm not sure. It looks a very, very interesting scenario. In fact, no, Sam is well down the field on the soft tyre. Either way, very horrible incident happening there, going through into turn 12, and that is, I think, potentially the race over for those drivers involved, including bitterly disappointed for BRT Griffiths, who is having a fantastic race with Bunga Bunga Racing.
Yeah, it's a real shame there. It was great battling all round from all the drivers there, so such a shame. It ended in the way it did. I'm not too sure what happened, but I just seen a big whack and a few drivers with damage and spins. So yeah, it's a shame. It was great racing, and yeah, a few drivers. Unfortunately, races are probably over now.
6 laps is what it took for Otis to get the 3-second gap versus Scyther. That would take it to around about lap 23, and then he's got another 6 laps to stay out of the 3-second barrier. But with those unforced errors that Lawrence has been making, I think he's probably only 1 or 2 warnings away from another penalty at the moment, whilst the rest of the field, as you can see, still don't have a time penalty, and it's all dependent on if any other person makes a mistake, because if they do and the safety car comes out again, Otis could end up falling well down the field. So keep an eye out on this race and do not turn away, because anything can happen in this race. Bahrain has really brought a fantastic race here, and now this battle between 2nd and 3rd place is going to be incredibly crucial, because if LCR Leopard decides he wants to battle with Scyther, it's all about how quickly can he get it done, and crucially, how much time are they going to lose in that battle against Lawrence.
Yeah, Scyther a little bit of a wiggle there. I'm not too sure what the code for that is, but Leopard is staying behind for the time being. But I just think Lawrence is too quick, isn't he? And I think the good news for him as well, he's not got any other warnings out with that 3-second time penalty, meaning that he probably 3 seconds is the worst we're going to get from him there. I was just looking with PSR Connor going down the inside of Passy there, up into P9, a very great restart from Connor there. Went slightly under the radar. I've not talked about him too much, so yeah, Connor doing a fantastic job in the moment, up into P9.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I really thought this was a Ferrari strategy, but it may have just turned out actually to be a Prema Racing strategy, because if you just so happen to remember, Charles Leclerc, I believe it was Formula 3 back then, or was it Formula 2? I think it was Formula 2, wasn't it? His championship winning season in Formula 2. Obviously deciding to pit under the sprint race, which you're not really meant to do. You can, but you shouldn't really. And he decided to go onto that softer compound of tyre, made it work, and then won the race on the final lap. Now, Otis has been showing enough pace that's probably not going to happen. It's all about that recovery drive, and what has potentially been a really poor strategy may turn out to be not as bad strategy as you may think. And if that second safety car happens, of course, that's going to bring Connor well into the mix of PSR, as that battle's still happening for P2 at the moment. Leopard is arguably really faster than Scyther at the moment, but they're still holding on to that 3-second gap to, Otis Lawrence at the moment.
Yep, he is just looking at P4 at the moment. F3P stay on those hard tyres, definitely going to be struggling in terms of pace at the moment. So Harris all over the back now on the medium tyres. Will he be looking to try and get by that Mercedes, or is he just happy sitting behind? But he pulls out to the right hand side, down into 7th gear though. Does that mean he doesn't want to go for it? But it doesn't look like he does he? Going down the inside, it goes slightly hesitant there from Harris, but Piste, he's going to hang it around the outside, and he turns to the inside. It's great to expect, it's great room from the two of them there, but Harris, he gets the DRS, and he also crucially gets that track position there up into P4.
Yeah, good move that actually from Harris to hold on into that P4 position here. Velox are flying high at the moment, but that ERS management has been poor from the Velox Racing team. Though they're up into 4th place, later into this race they could end up hemorrhaging time, especially when those medium tyres really start to fall off a cliff. So very, very interesting stuff in this one. Otis Lawrence about to fall out of the 3-second barrier that he needs in order to keep 1st place after penalties are applied, and that's because LCR Leopard has made a move on Scyther. So Shizou now up to 2nd place through LCR Leopard after an excellent restart, you'd have to say, for the Red Bull. Velox on for some really good points at the moment with 4th place at the moment, but that ERS management could cause some serious concern when those medium tyres begin to switch off Ray, Pisty and Aiden. who himself is in a big battle at the moment with Finn. And I wouldn't mind just very quickly going back to that instant as we start to see a few gaps begin to form here with Nico earlier on in that race versus Griffiths. It just looked to me as if he was racing and a little bit of a sideswipe, potentially loss of the rear end going into turn 12. Either way, shocking stuff.
Yeah, I didn't manage to see it, but yeah, no matter what it wasn't great, was it? You know, especially these guys, top drivers, all of them. So yeah, it was uncharacteristic to see a mistake like that happen or a crash like that happen. But there you go, that's racing sometimes, and those things do happen. But yeah, nonetheless, this midfield really close at the moment. Everyone just about within DRS of each other. It's Halo. A big mistake there coming out of turn 1, a big lock-up. And you might find himself under pressure from the Magician, who's found himself up in P13.
Magician will want to know how he's in P13 at the moment, because for the majority of this race, he's been 25 seconds behind everyone else. So it's been a really bold situation here for Magician, because his teammate now comes into the pits onto a fresh set of soft tyres, probably to the end of this race, and he is well down the field at the moment, so he's going to be hoping for a safety car, exactly as Magician did. And as a Magician does commit to his magic, he gets a safety car, and now he's driving his magic. Oh, that's terrible. I'm not going to continue with that pun. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Magician in 13th place. Shall we just end it there? You go on, you carry on, please.
Yeah, it's a tough crowd tonight,
sorry,
isn't it?
mate.
But yeah, VSR Finn now at the moment in P7. Just try to keep an eye on him, see if he can make the most of these medium tyres, because I think after a while we might just start to see the changeover where the hards become slightly more favourable. We've seen it with Harris earlier on with PC, and I'm interested to see now if the VSR driver of Finn will be eager to try and get by ARL Aiden before it's a little bit too late. So he's in the DRS, he's in the slipstream at the moment, and it will be the DRS as they come out the final corner. He's not got much ERS, so 2's Neil, unfortunately, only 8% ERS to Aiden's 25, so Aiden really doing a great job at the moment on those hard tyres, considering is a slower tyre, but these hard drivers have done a very good job, P3 and P5, as I previously mentioned. But they come out the final corner, in that bottom left hand corner you can see the ERS getting used, so let's see what he can do with it now. But no, the DRS probably not as strong as he'd have wanted. He is closing, but is it close enough? Is that straight long enough? Will he send it down the inside? And he absolutely does. Fantastic stuff from Finn there. Does see coming, and he just about does, but he's pushed him off wide, and there you have it. He's up into P5, P6 Connor as well, up into P7. As opportunistic as you like from Connor. P7 is now in the name of Connor.
Where is WOR joining the session? Big up the person who's making these accounts, by the way, because it's not just this racing league that keeps to be joining into really spicing up the affair, shall we say. PSR Connor in 7th place at the moment, and I think very imminently it's going to be 6th, because he has just been managing his race, and he's not really been pushing per se, but he has been considerably faster than everyone else, and he's got loads of ERS versus Finn, who is really struggling, to put it bluntly, with that ERS management. So I'm half expecting PSR Connor is probably going to be making the move going into turn 1. Is the PSR driver. That will push him into 6th, and then he's got a 2.5 second gap to Pisty, but he is on a set of hard tyres, and he is in a bit of a train at the moment between him and Harris at the moment, still within DRS territory of the Velox driver after that overtake going into turn 1 a little bit earlier on in this race. As we just follow around turn 12 now, do Connor, as people just praising Crispy for all of his efforts with those gamer tags joining in the session, so we'll hand that trophy to Crispy indeed if it is him. Heading down the straight then does the PSR driver Connor, as he wants to try and hold on, and he's going to make a very early move down the inside line. Doesn't really need to push that hard really if he wants to get the move done, and he does exactly that. Going into turn 1, misses the apex ever so slightly, but I think he's pulled enough of a gap that it's not really going to be that much of an issue. Ray VSR Finn, who may have DRS, but I think he's not really going to have the electrical energy at the moment, because he is really struggling with power.
Yeah, so next up for PSR Connor is the pair of VLX Harris and Everett Peasty. You just have to think what it could have been for Connor. The pace is looking really good, and I think a podium could have been on for him on another day with another strategy. But yeah, he's still doing very good. He's done very well with the hand he's been dealt, and yeah, he could be on for possibly possibly a top 5, maybe even a top 4 if he can get a move on.
BRT Griffiths with the fastest lap of the race, and that will take the fastest lap out of Otis Lawrence's hand. And of course, Lawrence would like a Grand Slam at some point, but he's not going to get it on this occasion with that soft lap time coming in for the Bunga Bunga Racing team, who equally spins out going through turn 2 as well. So he's obviously going fastest, and now he doesn't really care, does Griffiths, of course, after that incident with VSR Nico, who's just coming in behind him as well. And he pitted earlier on, by the way, for a set of hard tyres that are the used set of hard tyres, I believe, for VSR Nico, unless they're the same set of hard tyres, I'm not sure. But 17 lap old hards at the moment for VSR Nico versus the 2 lap soft tyres of BRT Griffiths, and it turns out the 2 lap softs are the ones that don't have enough grip.
Yes, it's interesting to see that one. So just interesting to see here, VLX Harris, it's a 131.3 to come to Gosling there. Connor, a 130.5. So a big difference in pace here. So Connor really has got a move on at the moment, and I think within the next few laps, we possibly could see Connor having a late challenge for the top 5.
The point still goes to the driver inside the top 10 with the fastest lap. So yeah, I mean, he will get the point, Will Lawrence. My point here, this one coming from WOR, who I think is just trying to clear up exactly what happens with regards to that one, as we've got a half spin out. I believe that's for Lacey, who's now racing with Blackie for P14 at the moment for ERL, and he actually gets overtaken. I just wanted to clarify, yes, it means that Lawrence will still have the fastest lap point, but he won't have the fastest lap, which to me is not a Grand Slam. And if someone wants to correct me on that one, though, please let me know in the comments. I'm sure he will. As we then head through turn 10, as FRA Pisty at the moment is now just ever so slightly getting a little bit close to those medium tyre runners. Are those medium tyres beginning to switch off? I wonder, Callum.
Yeah, I think that could be a possibility. I just read it in the chat there briefly, someone saying that Pisty will start to have the upper hand, and I definitely agree. These guys on the hard tyres will start to come into their own now. They've played the long game, they've been patient, they've kept it nice and tidy, and now these last 4 or 5 laps is where they have to strike. Make the most of these hard compound tyres, because these guys in the mediums will start to be a bit more conservative, start to be a little bit more cautious and wary of those mediums. So yeah, 4 laps to go, sorry. We're interested to see if Pisty can get a move on and put Harris under a little bit of pressure.
Just having a very quick look at the speedo at the moment to see how Scyther is doing, because he's beginning his lift and coasting measure as he's getting very close to the back end of the Shazoo driver Leopard at the moment. The LCR runner falling quite well at the moment, but the mistake maybe ever so slightly getting on the brakes a little bit later than I think he usually will, because he's doing a lot of lift and coasting at the moment, is Scyther, as he's trying to stay within the close proximity of LCR Leopard, whilst also being a driver that can pose a challenge for second place for PSR, as Connor at the moment is seriously putting pressure on Pisty at the moment. The gap was 2.5 only 3 laps ago. It's now 1.5. Connor, despite being on the aged medium tyre, and remember, he pitted 2 laps later than everyone else under the safety car. Doubt it would have made that much of a difference on the tyre wear. We'll have a quick look at that one a little bit later on. As it stands at the moment, he is pushing, and he is getting close to potentially a top 5 finish for Connor.
Yeah, definitely. It could be just looking as well, battle for P2, Cypher and Leopard pretty close at the moment. The ERS is looking pretty nice, so on Cypher's end 41% to Leopard's only 19%. So yeah, I wonder if these two will start to have a fight now that they know possibly that P1 is slightly out of their hand now. 3.8 seconds is the gap from Leopard to Otis Lawrence, which is just about 9 tenths now, which Leopard would need to find if he wants to get this race win. With only 3 laps to go, I think that's slightly unlikely.
Well, let's keep an eye on that one. I've just been focusing on Velox Harris, obviously, in that little battle between him and Pisty, as we go back to the battle for second at the moment between Leopard and Scyther, and he's getting closer and closer. Make that 0.75 seconds, 3/4 of a second for Scyther at the moment versus Leopard, and on this occasion, getting on the brakes a little bit earlier, and he's starting to hold on to the gap that he gains in these corners by lifting and coasting. 6.5 tenths separating as he comes through turn 4, 6.5 tenths as Pisty is going through turn 4 as well. Make that 7 tenths as they go down the straight, but DRS of course is available for Scyther and Pisty as it stands at the moment, as well as that battle for 7th at the moment, as Aiden is starting to really get close to Finn at the moment. These hard tyres, despite being the same age at the moment, the medium tyres are now starting to beat the tyre they want to be on, and it's certainly all about mechanical grip, because they've got no electrical energy at all of the VSR and ERL drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like to point out at the moment, HSR Amine, in P9. It's on for his first points and the Novice Racing's first points on their debut race, currently sitting in P9. Those 2 points will be going his way if he can keep that up as well. ETE Passy is well done in P10. I'm pretty sure he's part of Euro Titans Esports. Correct me if I'm wrong there. They've only scored 1 point this season as well, so another points finish could be going in the way of them if he can keep up this P10.
Big shout out, by the way, to Levi, who has absolutely corrected the record here, because I completely forgot about the rule as regards of having to lead every single lap on the board. And of course, Otis didn't. He pitted under the safety car, and Connor chose not to for 2 laps. So regardless of what happens, Otis will not get the Grand Slam as it stands here. So in that situation, maybe a bit disappointing. I think there's going to be certainly one on the way for him as long as he keeps racing in WRLD. He's been absolutely fantastic to watch this season. He has that 3-second penalty to his name, but as it stands at the moment, the gap is now 3.9, so obviously he's not let it phase him, as Aiden has finally made a move on VSR Finn, but Finn holding around that inside line, and Aiden stays around the outside as they collide around the outside, and Amin might be getting into the mix here, and this will be some really big points here for Novus, who have just suddenly come out of nowhere, gone from 9th to 7th.
Oh wow, but it's still kicking off, isn't it? It's
the 3 wide!
This is unbelievable. You don't see this often in this section of the Alpha Territory. Just about taking
there's a collision!
Bit of contact from the Haas as well. These two going side by side, and now ETE passes one. They get stuck in as well. It's great racing from all 4 of them. The Alpine can't go around the outside. He just about runs out of room. But wow, talking about a little bit of late action. Fantastic from all 4 of them.
Amina will be wanting to know how he managed to get up to 7th and then lose straight back down to 9th again. He might be disappointed now with 9th. He's want to hold on as well, because he wants to try and get these points on the board for their first race for Novus, as we've lost a driver towards the middle, and that looks to me as if ETE Recluse in 13th has had a big tank slap. He's just caught it before it goes into the wall, so he's definitely not going to be in the points run as it stands at the moment. Passes on for the final point, but look at FGE Halo. Again, he's just trying to peer around the drivers and inconvenience these drivers. He did it last week, and now he's going to want to try and nab a point here and there and everywhere if he can. Amin is holding on as we start the final lap of this race here in Bahrain, and Scyther and Leopard are still battling hard here, as Leopard is going down the inside line to try and hold on from an attack from Scyther around the outside, and immediately shuts the door right in front of his face. But Scyther is going to still keep pressuring on here, and I don't think he's going to go for the move into 4. He's going to have to go for the move into 11, and I tell you, that is not an easy pass.
Yep, battle for P4 now. Harris just about hanging on here, but P stay down the inside. He goes into turn 4. It could be a bit of contact, but it's great respect from the 2 of them. The Mercedes gets him on the outside as well. But Harris, he's just about hanging on in there, isn't he? Round the outside he goes.
Crikey! Oh, it's Pisty in the wall. No, that's shocking stuff. He's ended up trying to battle, and he caught it on the outside, and FRA are losing buckets of points as a result of this one. Halo is now in the points, and he's inconveniencing drivers once again. Is the FGE driver. He's down to into 10th place. Pisty into 11th. He's going to have to scrap for the final point. He's actually still in the DRS territory of Halo, so he's still not out of it at the moment. Aiden is currently holding that train down to 7th at the moment as it stands. Connor is still putting now the driver on the pressure. He's into the top 5. Is he going to get 4th place? And what a mighty run this would be from Connor as well. Certainly a driver of the day performance, as Scyther and LCR Leopard are still trying to fight hard. But even with the time penalty, it never really looked in doubt, did it? FRA will be happy to take a second win through FRA Elites, and Otis Lawrence comes across the line to take the victory here tonight in Bahrain. Shazoo will take second from Scyther, who will be disappointed, I think, with P3. And look at Velox Racing out of nowhere coming across the line to take 4th place for the Alfa Romeo team, with PSR Connor taking 5th. A really good race nonetheless from Connor to come back after that safety car period. Aiden for ERL will take 6th. VSR Finn will take 7th. Amin in 8th. Passy in 9th. And Halo inconveniencing the drivers. He inconveniences Pissy after that mistake, and he takes the final point. He's in 10th.
Wow, what a race, and they all left it right to the end, didn't they, to give us a bit of action. FRA Pisty, oh dear, what a disaster that was in the last lap, from 4th to 11th in the matter of moments. Unfortunately, no point scope for him tonight, meaning FRA, their only point scorer is Otis Lawrence, once again with that 25 points. So PSR as well, also getting 25 points in the way of Scyther in P3 and Connor in P5. So it's interesting to see there that there's a little bit of a letdown there once again from the FRA number 2 driver, but it's probably through no fault of his own. It was hard racing, and sometimes those things happen.
What a great race indeed it has been for FRA Elite or Otis Lawrence, despite the early onset of maybe nerves for the Mercedes driver. It never really looked in doubt, and he's going to be happy certainly with that performance, and that will be a cracking victory indeed, and a solid 25 points for FRA as Sam comes across the line to round off this race. And we will obviously head through to the ceremony of the podium ceremony, of course, of the first 3, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get to speak to the 3 drivers, as they obviously struggled to get into our party last week. So hopefully we'll be able to have a quick word with those drivers later on, after, of course, they take their trophies and champagne for what has been an absolutely fantastic race from the drivers. Otis Lawrence, FRA Elite, will take the 25 points. That's the 2nd win in a row, of course. I believe it's a 3rd win in a row as well, of course, because he, of course, won the Australian Grand Prix in round 1. He is going to be happy with this one. It's treble on the bounce now for the man of the moment, the Veloce Academy driver and FRA driver leading the way to take the race victory here tonight. He lifts the first place trophy. Of course, it's a big well done as well to a bunch of drivers across the field as well. You can't deny a fantastic performance from the midfield runners. Velox, 4th place in the end for him, and a fantastic race in the end for PSR Connor, flying high after that safety car, and of course first points on the board already for the Novus Racing team on their first race and their debut tonight here for the WOR Legacy Division. So we will take a look at the final standings, and in the end it was only that 3-second penalty for driver track limits for Otis Lawrence, but it didn't cost him any victory at all. He takes the victory here tonight in first, with LCR Leopard in second place, who could have put a valiant effort against him, but he just wasn't fast enough, and battling hard with Scyther for that second place spot with Harris for Velox. What a performance indeed from the team. They'll be so happy with 12 points on their head, with Connor in 5th place, 10 points for PSR. Obviously that strategy not quite working out, but nonetheless a solid effort to get back up to 5th, with Aiden in 6th for ERL. VSR will only take 7th place, with Amin in 8th, passing 9th, and Halo down in 10th. FRA, of course, will be in 11th place, with Magician in 12th, Recluse in 13th, Lacey in 14th, with Blackie down in 15th, and Griffiths in 16th place, Nico and Sam 17th and 18th. The rest of the drivers all DNFing. So let's go through then to the questions, as we do have a few drivers actually joining us going into this session, and thank you very much to every single one of you for tuning into this race, and hopefully you can have a very quick conversation with some of these drivers out here who have been very nice to join us on this one. First driver that has joined us in this party, actually, none other than LCR Leopard. We'll speak with you as we are waiting for the others to join, actually. Second place for you, really valiant effort in the end in that battle with Scyther, but I think it's really all about that safety car restart, isn't it? What a start for you.
Yeah, for once I got that safety car restart right. I never really get them right, but on this occasion I did, so yeah, that helped. And yeah, once I passed Pisty, I was, already with the top 2, although I was knowing full well that Elite would start off, as he always does, but no, was happy to come away with P2.
No, nonetheless, a really good performance for yourself, though, in the end, Leopard. Obviously, taking that P2. Shazoo will be very happy with that performance as well. You're looking forward, obviously, to the next few races. Now we are moving away from quite a wide open track this week. Next week, we're heading over to Singapore. The very different track layout, very different track sort of structure for yourself. Is this a track that suits you, or are you more suited to the tracks that Bahrain brings?
I mean, I've never really thought about, I guess, what kind of tracks I'm driving. I just drive the tracks, and if it suits me, it suits me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, in the past, Singapore has been a good track for me. Okay, I haven't driven on this game, but in the past, it has been a very good track for me. So we'll see what it brings.
Well, certainly a great performance from yourself. Well done indeed for a second place for Team Shazoo.
Thank you very much.
We will move over. We haven't managed to scrape up P3 in Scyther, unfortunately unavailable. I think this was the same situation that happened last week, actually. So we'll actually move straight forward to the race victor, Otis. What a performance from yourself to take that victory. Very big congratulations again. 3rd race win on the bounce as well in WOR Legacy Division. You're now looking forward to what I think is going to be a very interesting season for yourself, but that 3-second penalty on your head, did that make you raise a few question marks whether this race win was in the bag?
Thank you, yeah, it definitely did. It was definitely one of my worst races on this game, to be honest with you. Just the consistency just lacked, and pace wasn't top notch, but still come out with a dub, so I'm still happy with that. And GG, Skipper and Leopard, they're very fast drivers.
And nonetheless, I mean, the same question actually coming back to you as well, because it's a very interesting comment that came from Leopard about Singapore. Obviously, we're racing there next week. Is Singapore... have you got the same attitude is the question I suppose I'm asking here about, from Leopard. Is it one of those tracks that you just race at a track and hope for the best, or are there certain tracks that you feel comfortable at? Is Bahrain more suited to you, or is Singapore a good challenge? I mean, I'm interested to your mindset towards that circuit.
Same as every other track, to be honest with you. Just focus and just do the best I can, really.
Yeah, Well, nonetheless, a really, really good performance from yourself as well. FRA, of course, will be very happy, and I'm sure Veloce, the Veloce guys will also be very happy with your performance as well in WRLD. Hopefully, we'll see you next week in Singapore. However, that is all it here for WRLD. Thank you very much to every single one of you tuning in. Of course, we are at round 4 next week, as I said, at Singapore. It will be Warder and Callum joining you for that one. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time, so hopefully you can be tuning in for those couple of races. For myself and the rest of the team here at WR Legacy, thank you very much for watching, and we'll leave you with the very big knowledge about Queen Elizabeth II. Of course, her recent passing. One legacy does end, but this legacy will continue. Take care. Bye-bye for now.